I wish you first and foremost a Merry Christmas. But I would be remiss if I didn't take 2 seconds to acknowledge an original member of ours. This year an oak tree fell in the forest. We don't have Dr. James Ertel Johnson. We will miss you. Amen. But we have the legacy, so we're going to be all right. We want to wish you Merry Christmas. This is men from all the churches that are represented in this city, this area. And without further ado, deck the halls. Go.
Deck the halls with boughs of holly, fa la 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 la. 'Tis the season to be jolly, fa la 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 la. Don we now our gay apparel, fa la 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 la. Troll the ancient Christmas carol, fa la 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 la. Oh, come all ye faithful, joyful and triumphant. Oh, come ye to Bethlehem. Come and behold him, born the King of angels. Oh, come, let us adore him. Oh, come, let us adore him. Oh, come, let us adore him, Christ the Lord.
Jingle bells. 1, 2, thank you. Ready?
Dashing through the snow in a one-horse open sleigh. O'er the fields we go, laughing all the way. Ho, 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 bells on bobtails ring, making spirits bright. What fun it is to laugh and sing a sleighing song tonight. Oh, jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Hey, jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh.
I want y'all to know that featured Herb Tom. He is. You know him, huh?
No way.
Joy to the world. 1, 2, 3, go.
Joy to the world, the Lord is come. Let earth receive her King. Let every heart prepare him room. And heaven and nature sing, and heaven and nature sing, and heaven and nature sing. Joy to the world, the Savior reigns. Let men their songs employ. While fields and floods, rock hills and plains, repeat the sounding joy, repeat the sounding joy, repeat the sounding joy. Rule the world with truth and grace, and makes the nations prove the glories of his righteousness, and wonders of his love, and wonders of his love, and wonders of his love.
I wish you Merry Christmas.
We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Good tidings we bring to you and your kin. Good tidings for Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
The Liberty City Council meeting will now come to order for December 11, 2017. It's exactly 6:15 p.m., just after we finished our men's community course group. Ms. Dickey, if you certify the quorum, please.
Council Brian Rowland.
Here.
Council Jonathan Randall.
Here.
Council Kendrick Jones.
Here.
Council Wendy Williams. Here. Council Paulette Barnett.
Thank you, ma'am. And now we'll stand for the invocation and the pledge. Mr. Bruce, if you would honor us with a brief invocation, since you're visiting, we'll allow you to do that since both of our pastors left with the choir, the men's choir group.
All right. Dear God, bless this meeting, this gathering of citizens from the city of Prairie View. Please bless the proceedings that take place here. Bless the men that are out there singing, spreading cheer to the community. And bless everyone who traveled, and please keep them safe as they return home. In your name we pray. Amen.
Stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. And as noted on the agenda for the majority of us that were here, the Men's Community Christmas Chorus graced us as they do annually and have done for many years. The better part of that is as they leave here, they go around the community, primarily checking on seniors, mostly widows, and sing a few Christmas carols in their front door. And they get a real treat out of that. So they're doing a real blessed thing. Thank goodness they've got great weather. Item number 1, receive the final report and minutes from Planning and Zoning meeting on December 1st, 2017. That, I believe, is in council's packets. And we're not voting on anything, Counselor, we're just receiving the report.
Correct.
Okay, so the chair is open for a motion to receive the report.
Is the chair from here?
No. We'll just receive his report and then we'll conduct our required public hearing. What? A motion on item number 1? So, Counselor, would we automatically table that without a motion to at least receive it?
If you don't receive the report, then you can't open the public hearing or vote on any of the zoning amendments that the
Okay.
zoning commission voted on at the December 1st meeting, which means we would have to repost everything in the newspaper and repost public hearing.
And all we'll be doing is receiving the report, still, like you say, giving time to review it and everything. No official action, just saying it's in front of the council now, formally. So if we get a motion to that effect, that would allow us to go forward, continue review. And we won't be making any decisions for a while until we get to item E.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Jones.
I move that we accept the plan zoning report.
Second. Okay, it's been properly moved, and if we could go, if you don't mind, with the language of receiving, I'm not sure if we accept, you may change,
That's
would that be
what I
okay?
was about to say, yeah.
Okay, it's been properly moved and seconded that we receive the final report and minutes from planning and zoning meeting on December 1st, 2017. You've heard the motion, ready for the questions?
Questions?
All those in favor of receiving the report only, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, let the record reflect that was unanimous. And now we will open the public hearings on the following zoning map amendment applications. And this is where we are able to hear from the public about each one of these particular requests. Item A, the applicant is Rico McCardle. The address and legal description, 629 Sharon Street, Prairie View, Texas, 77446. S721100 Prairie View Estates, 1 block 4 lot 864 acreage, .4132. The existing zoning is R1 single family residential, and the proposed zoning at Ms. McCardle's request is manufactured home housing. Anyone in the audience have anything that you'd like to say on the request for item A? We're just hearing and absorbing any information that anyone may have.
I'm not understanding you, Mayor.
Well, an applicant applied through the planning and zoning to change the zoning from R1 single family to manufactured housing in the Prairie View Estates, commonly known as Rosewood, over in that Rosewood area on Sharon Street. So we're just doing a required, in case there's some people from over there that have some things they want to share, pro or con. This is a required public hearing on these applications, that's all. Okay, any other comments once on item 2A? Any other public comments twice on item 2A? Any other public comments 3 times on item 2A? That item is closed from the public hearing. The next one is item 2B as in baby. Applicant Frank T. and Mary S. Hawkins. Address and legal description, 204 Hawkins Street, Prairie View, Texas, 77446. S431000 Clark, lot 62 and 63, acreage, .5036. Existing zoning is R1 single family residential. Proposed zoning is R3 multifamily residential or general commercial for hotel. Any public comments on item 2B? Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Mayor, they can state their name and their address.
Oh, yes, if you would give your name for the record. Yes, sir. Yes.
Curtis Williams.
Yes, Ms. Williams.
It's better to stay with it is. Where it is, because
Yeah, should we have them keep it down in Hardship? Yes, sir, Ms. Williams, I'm sorry. You're saying it's better to leave it as it is? So you're
yeah,
opposed to
I
the
think
change?
I think it should. Yeah, I think it's stayed the same because it's the same for over 100 years, and nobody wet. The first time you see Prairie View is hotel. So why do you need to come? Why do you have to come a motel in there first? First thing, you know, and also, you know,
Yes, sir, there was something else?
yeah.
Okay.
it's just the same family with same, it is, you know, because, see, the first time when you come in Prairie View, you don't want to see the motel in there, you know? And
Now, do you happen to live in that vicinity by chance, Mr. Williams? Just checking for the record.
the what?
Do you live in that area by chance?
No, I own it.
No, he doesn't, but I do.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
okay.
And basically, still coming down to the point, we are concerned about crime increasing. I mean, would
And your
you
name
want a
again?
hotel, Debria, D-E-B-R-I-A, last name is Williams,
Okay.
would you want one by your house? I mean, would you want that? I'm just asking a question, so you have to see it on both ways. I'm concerned about the crime increasing and possibly the deterioration of the subdivision. As you know, people come in, this is a college community, which you're gonna have possibly, I'm gonna say transits in and out, you have the university people. I think that there could be possibly another place that, if you're considering that it could be, I'm for growth, but I would like you to also consider if it was you, what you wanted by your place. You want anything else to say?
Thank you for your comments. Any other public comments on item number B? Yes, sir, Dr. Hawkins.
Yes. First of all, it is not a hotel. It is a bed and breakfast facility. It's just like a house. And we are not asking for it to be rezoned. The adjacent property is already in that zone definition. So it will be, we have a very small area there. The Waller Independent School District is building a road from Orange Road to 290. There is going to be growth in the city of Prairie View. And if we put a bed and breakfast facility there that will look just like the houses that are already existing, it will not be anything except a progress that's going to take place anyway. And the corner is already defined, and there will be commercial in that area, that total area. I've been there since the 1960s, not as long as the Williams. But the street that we're putting on it is Hawkins Street. Please, let me develop Hawkins Street.
So let me make sure we correct what we have, Doc. So it's not a hotel is listed, you're saying
No.
it's a bed and breakfast?
Yes, and it looks just like a home. And it will not be.
What is it?
Correct.
The Planning and Zoning Commission, this application submitted to the Planning and Zoning Commission used the word hotel. That is what was approved. So if a bed and breakfast is something different in your zoning ordinance than a hotel.
It's still, so my question was gonna be, we have two things on here. We have, currently it is zone R1. And Dr. Hawkins said that the adjacent properties next to him is currently already rezoned GC or R3. He's asking for this .5036 to be either zone, which one? Because they're a difference. So are we doing both, or which one is it? Because we have, on my paper, it says R3 or GC, which is general commercial. Do we know which one we're?
The Planning Commission approved a hotel, and I believe they approved the GC zoning district, not the,
Is that what you wanted, GC?
Yes.
Okay.
But we have a problem in the fact that their hotel is differentiated. His application that he submitted said hotel, okay? So that is, you have in your zoning ordinance a bed and breakfast, which is a different thing, different definition. So the Planning and Zoning Commission approved a hotel and not a bed and breakfast.
Yeah, so in our, they're not, I guess, from my understanding, if we're given, he's saying, we assumed, the paper says hotel, he says bed and breakfast. Giving him a GC, a general commercial, allows him to do anything that is business commercial on that particular property.
He can do a bed and breakfast on there with GC.
Right. Or he could do a hotel.
Or he could do a
with GC.
hotel with GC.
And so I just want to make sure we don't get caught up in whether it's a bed and breakfast or a hotel. We're differentiating between, because it says two different things, so is it R3 or GC? Because R3 wouldn't allow us to do the.
The application that I submitted did not say hotel. Hotel was given in the vernacular of bed and breakfast. That's what the zoning commission.
And this issue did come up because I even asked for clarification in attending the meeting. And I'm looking at the motion from the final report and minutes to City Council. It says motion to approve rezoning the property from R1 single family residential to GC general commercial because appropriate land use now, and the motion was approved. So in the motion, the multifamily residential was indeed left out. So I don't know what that does, because it was after the discussion.
Right, and that's fine, that, because he doesn't want the multifamily, he can't go in multifamily residential, so that's fine, I don't have an issue with that. I have an issue that the application said one thing, hotel, not bed and breakfast, and that was what was, you know, the commission had to go on the application. And I understand that you might not have even written that word in the application, correct?
Not, I did not.
Right. But that is what got submitted.
So what do we have to do now, or can we do anything, council?
Question,
Does it have to go back to planning and zoning?
question.
Yes, ma'am.
Bread and breakfast, bread and breakfast is commercial. And if it's already zoned as a commercial area, then it fits in whether it's bread and breakfast or hotel, it's commercial.
Right, I agree. I wanted to, because I do think it's gonna be different. What we have on our paper, we know it's R1 right now. Single family. The property right now is zoned, from our paper, it's R1. And then on the paper, it has proposed zoning R3 or GC, which is, you said you wanted general commercial. Does that do anything if we approve this .530, if we approve to make this change, which planning and zoning has done, there's a trigger, so what, I know financially, the city then gets to tax them as a
There may be some hotel motel tax.
But again, as far as there's no, the only thing we need to approve would be this, or does the bed and breakfast fall under the R3, or is that why they both were there, or?
I don't know why, the application he submitted, he might have thought he could do it in an R3, and I'm looking at the zoning matrix map now, and you cannot do a bed and breakfast in an R3. You may be able to do a hotel in an R3, that might be where the confusion comes in, because that's how the application was submitted to the planning department.
Let me ask a question as well.
Ms. Williams,
Ms.
yes.
Williams, the hotel thing, I think you specifically had a concern with. Is the bed and breakfast the same concern, so we can incorporate your feelings as someone adjacent to it, because you got that right?
I don't really have a problem, I think we would have a problem with the bed and breakfast, but then it would come down to how large would this be? But a hotel, definitely not. We just would not We can talk, just get
And I
But we
think,
just,
and I think Dr. Hawkins, you referenced basically a large enough house for a bed and breakfast, but a house.
and the reason why,
It just be the same as the size of my home that I live in right now.
it was what we read. We read hotel.
Of course.
Bed and breakfast is something totally different. So that's a concern, but then you guys have all this confusion with the application being one way. I just don't want, if this is continued, I don't want something coming in on the back burner stating within, it needs to be worded correctly if you're going to do it, so we wouldn't be, you know, so
Let
something
me
that
make a
is slid in.
clarification. I have a
I have
clarification.
a clarification. May I ask a question, please? What is the difference between a bed and breakfast and a hotel?
So there's actually defined terms in the ordinance, but I want to make a clarification on the R3. Because in your zoning matrix, an R3 for a bed and breakfast is a conditional use.
Okay,
So-
so it should be GC.
It could be, so for a bed and breakfast, you can get a conditional use to do a bed and breakfast, or you can get a rezoning for GC.
GC.
And they approve GC.
My comments, and I'm glad we're having this conversation in public hearing. Some of the residents may or may not agree with the zone. So if we're saying it's a hotel or bed and breakfast, the protections that council voted on and have continued to vote on was the matrix that the attorney's talking about, meaning certain areas have certain requirements like R1, R2, R3. We're trying to protect the integrity of the community by making sure if the new things fit where old things have been, and how do we integrate that in our community where everyone can move forward. I think planning and zoning have, moved through what needs to be. I guess the conversation is that, if Mr. Hawkins says that it's a bed and breakfast, what do we need to do? Is there anything legally that the city needs to do? Because aren't we only approving the status like what we have to do for?
It's been noticed as the application said hotel, was put in the paper as a hotel, planning and zoning approved it as a hotel. A bed and breakfast is something completely different. And so I think that it is not appropriate for, unless he's doing a hotel, to vote on a bed and breakfast, because that is a different thing. It's
So we need to send this back to planning and zoning.
No, right.
So y'all already have plans for this hotel, or y'all got plans, and how many rooms are you planning on?
Ma'am, hold on. You need to address.
Oh, okay, my question, because I'm with Deborah in Curtis Williams, okay. My question is when we talk about this hotel, how many rooms are we talking about? How big is the hotel?
Well, now we find that it was a application error, and it's not a hotel, so we can skip that whole
Okay,
hotel
even for the bed
discussion.
and breakfast, to me, they're still the same. You still gonna have people coming in and staying there. So how many is it going to be resident to stay there? How many people, what are you, is it, so I'm just trying to understand.
Well, we have to send it back, since it's not clear, to get those particulars. Because it was noticed in the paper as a hotel, so it appears, based on our legal counsel, that we can't go forward on this issue tonight. It's gotta be resubmitted and done correctly. And then we can have the notice, bed and breakfast, and you can have those particular information. And then we can go forward one way or another.
So also, what about the taxes? Would this have anything to do with it?
Well,
With taxes going up or property taxes going up?
Well, right now, it's a non-issue, so we won't, and can't take it that far. We're not voting on it tonight because it was not submitted
But if we
correctly.
do vote on it, it's not necessarily a non-issue, so, but if we do vote on it, it's
Well,
passed.
right now, to answer a piece of your question,
Mhm.
to the south of that property, to the east of that property, and to the west of that property are all somewhat commercial right now. So if commercial is gonna impact taxes, that's already done. The council voted to make University Drive commercial from where the Dollar General is, all the way to the entrance to the university. So the commercial component's already done. Yes, Councilman Rowe.
I just wanted to reiterate, just for information. Like the mayor talked about, the properties that's already zoned, commercial, if someone wanted to put up a hotel 100 yards from where this current property is, they don't have to come before city council. And so I want to make sure citizens are very clear and understand that we're hearing you, but we want to make sure that we know that there's current commercial property already zoned, that if you just walked over a couple yards, they can put a hotel right there right now and don't need, they just have to pull permits, but they don't need approval. We're only approving the zone change, and again, we're hearing the comments that are coming from the citizens, but we don't want anyone leaving here thinking, you know, we want everyone leaving here understanding that this is only because it wasn't changed, but there's current properties that are zoned commercial that don't need our approval.
Including the other half of this same lot. So that's, you know, something to, but again, you'll be noticed, Ms. Williams, because you live in that area, and it'll go with the proper notification of the bed and breakfast for clarity, it'll be published and that sort of thing. And then you can get those kind of questions answered as to what it is that exactly is being. And again, we want to appreciate all of you for coming out, because this is a part of working together to better and move the city forward. So we appreciate your input on both sides. So, Doc, we'll have the application go back to planning and zoning to be redone, submitted. Won't take a long time, but we'll go forward correctly, and then we can address it one way or another.
Okay. Now, the property that's adjacent to the property that's under discussion is already defined as commercial.
Right.
We're just taking the east half of that property that's already,
Exactly.
it doesn't need anything from this city council to put whatever, okay?
Yes, Councilman Allen.
Yeah, I guess my question would be, you know, the issue is whether it's gonna be a bed and breakfast or a hotel, but if we're just talking about the ordinance, or the variance change, the ordinance change, if it's going to be a GC residential anyway, whether it's a bed and breakfast or a hotel, how does that affect whether we change the ordinance, the variance today? How does that affect, how does his application affect whether we make the ordinance change?
And I understand that seems a little frustrating, but because a hotel or bed and breakfast would both be GC.
Right.
The problem is that his application he submitted said hotel, which is something, a completely different defined term, okay? A bed and breakfast has a different definition about the number of lodgings that can go there. So that's the so if you look at the bed and breakfast, I'll just read it. A building or place where lodging is provided by pre-arrangement for definite periods for compensation for not more than 12 persons, okay? So a hotel, I promise you, probably says something that's more than 12 persons.
Ad infinitum, yeah, we know.
So
Okay.
it's a different animal.
But based on the application, you said we have to send it back anyway,
Yeah.
so we can just move the agenda.
Yes.
And then
I can
address that.
help tell them what happened if you need to.
Sure.
Speak with Mr. Hawkins.
Item C.
Yeah, I guess my concern about the hotel, right now, planning and zoning approved the GC for the hotel. We're now kicking it back for wording because of.
It's not a hotel. He's responsible for his application. So if he's telling you that it's not a hotel, it's a bed and breakfast, the application he submitted said hotel. It should have said bed and breakfast.
So it's faulty notice, so we have to redo it.
Yes.
Okay.
Is someone gonna make sure that Mr. Hawkins, Dr. Hawkins?
Yes.
I can get with him, I'm happy to
Yeah,
speak.
we'll deal with it. Okay, moving the agenda. Item C, applicant Palmetto Associates, PAIRDD LLP, address and legal description, FM 1098, Prairie View, Texas, ABS A312400, A is in Apple, -124, George A. Dennett tract, 1-1 acres, 12.31. PO 21.5071 acreage. 12.31 existing zoning mixed use, proposed zoning R3 multifamily residential for townhome development. Anyone here to speak up on item C?
Oh, the proposal and plans have been completed, and we would like to get approval for the zone change.
And Mr. Anderson, if you would,
Oh,
for the
yeah,
benefit of
sorry.
council,
Yeah,
share
sorry.
with them where this is, because it doesn't have an address, that way they'll be clear. I know where your property is, we wanna make sure.
Oh, yeah, it's, Curtis Anderson, 103 Pecan Street, Prairie View, Texas.
No, the proposed change.
Oh, I thought I had to say my name and address first.
Yeah,
Okay.
we appreciate your
So
name,
this
yes.
proposed change is to change it to a residential area.
And which area?
Oh, it's directly across from the community center,
Okay,
that area over there, you know, the little flat.
yeah, the field just next to
Yeah, the field,
St.
it's a
Francis
field over there.
Assisi and across
Yes.
from the Waller County Community Center.
Yes, exactly,
Okay,
in that area.
gotcha.
And the proposals, everything been completed, and we just need a rezoning.
Now, Counselor, the existing zoning is mixed use.
Yes, that's correct.
Is there a reason why it's,
The townhouse development requires the R3 designation.
okay,
It requires, so what falls under mixed use?
Um,
They have more flexibility.
I mean, mixed use has several.
rentals and
Yeah.
that sort of thing, and mixed use as well, which would not include townhomes?
Let me see what the matrix says.
Seems mixed
So
use tends to be more
townhomes-
flexible.
Yeah, townhomes are not even on the matrix, but they are mentioned in the zoning regulations.
Does he categorize them?
Yes, and it's under, if you look at the definition of R3, it says this district is primarily intended for multifamily dwellings consisting of townhouses. So when you look at your matrix, there's no box for townhouses, like a check mark that says it can go in this district. So that's where I found some authority, is in the R3 district.
Okay. And mixed use does not
But I-
incorporate,
The word townhouse is only used 3 times in your zoning ordinance, and it's only used in the R3.
okay.
So the question I would have is that currently right now, mixed use kind of has other things they can put into this.
Yes, sir.
Going to the R3, which is kind of limits the focus, which again, you know what you want to do.
Right.
If they wanted to do something in addition to R3, we would have to rezone that, or do y'all would mix? So again, is it the whole 12.31 wants to be rezoned?
Yes,
Is that what y'all are asking for?
yes, put the townhouse in, with the parking and everything associated with it. You know, utility, everything.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else you want to share, Mr. Anderson, on the application?
Oh, no,
That's it.
not today.
Okay. Does anyone else in the audience have any comments on item C? Any further comments on item C twice? Any further comments on item C 3 times? Okay, item C is closed. Item D, applicant Frank Vasquez Jr., address and legal description 44222 U.S. Business 290, Prairie View, Texas 77446, S714100, Prairie Hills, 1, Block 2, Lot W/51.48, 51.49 of 17, acreage .2364, existing zoning mixed use, proposed zoning general commercial for auto dealer used cars. Council, I've got, anyone in the audience have anything to speak to this? Item D. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, my name is Hillary Kizzy. And I have a lot close to this particular one. And as you said, this is mixed use, and I'm trying to figure out why are we trying to change it to commercial. I'm thinking of the lot that's down a little further on 290, east on 290, at Emerald and 290. That started out as a small car lot. Now it's circled all around the corner, also on 290, Emerald and 290. And I would hate to see this like this. He's trying to put this in front of his house, which eventually I'm wondering if business was going, would he tear the house down and then we have more cars? So I know that it was voted down at Planning and Zoning. Everybody voted it down. So I'm hoping that we don't let this go through.
Thank you, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
I just had two comments to make. First comment I had to make was relative to B. When I had my hand up as a person that had a comment about it, I noticed that you all allow people, some people to make comments, and I didn't get to make a comment.
Oh, well, please feel free. We missed your hand. Go ahead.
Thank you.
Sure, go ahead.
I live in the area.
It's a public hearing, so we didn't
Well,
overlook your intention.
I didn't want to get escorted out for talking out of turn.
Yes, ma'am. Go right ahead.
Well, first of all, I think that Dr. Hawkins and his wife have proven over the decades that I've been in Prairie View to be very responsible, conscientious citizens. And I think that them putting up a business in that area is a wonderful idea. And I think that they are responsible, they live there, they're on site. It's not like some of the businesses here where people live in other cities and run a business here without any vested interest in it. And I think it's a wonderful idea that they are taking the initiative to provide that service, because we definitely need that service, especially during homecoming time and football time. I have people calling me, wanting to come have bed and breakfast in my house and not pay me. So to have that option available for them, and I know they'll keep it neat and clean and well lighted and safe, I think that's a good idea. Another point about the car plates, I know everybody's opposed to it, but it's like I get very frustrated when anytime black people or people of color want to start a business in Prairie View, people are opposed to it. But if you have white people from Bryan Station College Station, Bryan, come down here and buy lots to start businesses, that's no problem. Nobody speaks out. You know, people just lay up and let them do what they want to do.
Well, keep in mind though, we haven't made a decision on the Hawkins. It has to go back because of potential legal challenges later. Even if we were to approve it, because it's required to be printed in the paper, it said hotel based on what was printed in the paper, so we can't touch it even if we wanted to this evening.
Well, Mr.
But
Mayor, with all due respect,
yeah.
if you had let it go like it was going, the consensus would have been the people in the neighborhood opposed it. Well, I'm a voice of the people in the neighborhood who support it.
Okay.
So there are people in the neighborhood who oppose it, but there are also people who support it.
Sure.
And I just think that it's high time that Prairie View, black people in Prairie View, start supporting each other with local people operating and owning businesses. All this stuff about you're scared and you don't, crime is increasing with it like it is, because that's just the nature of the beast.
Right.
But like I just think that it's important that we start thinking about doing businesses, starting businesses here, and supporting each other.
Well, good point, and we appreciate it. But like I said, we're moving. Anything else on item B, Councilman Rose?
Does anybody from, this is the one on Old 290 that was there before it then got shut. Is this the same property?
Just before the corner, like two houses before the corner.
So so their current application with mixed use, they can't, I guess I'm trying to get, mixed use, I'm assuming what the current property is on is, does not allow them to do the auto dealership. And so they're trying to move the GC because of that reason.
There's only one district that allows for used cars, and that is the GC. Yes, sir.
Yeah, there's only one district, one designation zoning that allows for the used cars, and that's GC. That's why it has to be changed if it's gonna be allowed.
Are there any, did anyone oppose, I know, 4B didn't approve this. I mean, planning and zoning didn't approve it. Was there anybody who lived around there that had anything to say?
There were comments.
Yeah, she's not here.
There were comments at the
the house
meeting.
in the back.
Okay. Any other comments on item D? Any other comments on item D twice? Yes, ma'am.
I apologize for saying it, but, I'm not saying this earlier, but back in the, like 99 and 2000, I thought when you said, excuse me, my name is Dorothy Anderson Carter. I thought when you said mixed use, that you could just about use anything, you know, you could use it for anything. Mixed use then was, I don't know what it is now, but mixed use, anything, mixed use.
Well, and you bring a good point, because I think that's where we were going. Council, what's the definition on mixed use for the benefit of all of us?
There's not just a single definition, it's a zoning district. So when you look at the zoning district, it says the mixed-use district classification is intended to provide flexibility in planning for the development of projects which may include residential, office, and commercial land uses. In many instances, it's quite lengthy. I mean, do you want me to read the whole thing? Or?
No, you can stop with commercial land uses. I mean, we're talking about, it's trying to be changed to
But then you have
general
a
commercial
zoning.
and-
But our zoning thing says that
You have a matrix.
specific, so general commercial or some things may be approved, but then if you say, I wanna put a car dealership, a car dealership may fall out of mixed, may not be in this particular category, so you may need to have GC.
Gotcha. Now, does it state, I know you mentioned car dealers are listed in another one, in GC?
Just one, yes.
Okay.
So if you look and I can just.
But does it deny car dealerships in mixed use?
Yeah, yes, because it only has
Says
the
that.
X where it can go.
Okay.
And so this is the, if it says auto dealers new and used, and there's one X where it can go.
It's gotta be,
And there, all the
okay.
rest are blank.
Okay,
Well, I always
got
thought,
it.
excuse me, well, I always thought mixed use was mixed use. That's what I always thought, mixed use is mixed use. Yes, sir.
Yeah, well, what the city has is a matrix, a chart, and where it says used cars, under that matrix, it only says under general commercial. So the city specifically addressed that back whenever they did this years ago. So we'll take a look at it. Any other comments on item D? Thank you, Ms. Anderson. Any other comments twice on item D? Any other comments 3 times on item D? Okay, item D is closed. And Councilwoman Williams, you had a,
Yes, for the decision making for those items on the back, B, F, G, and H, I wanted to make a motion that we go into executive session for further questions from council.
There will be no questions.
and can we table that to go through the agenda and then pick up on executive session for the benefit of the folks here?
Yes, I would prefer a motion to move the items so that we can do that, and a second, just so all the council agrees, and then we can go into
Okay,
executive.
the chair is open to a motion to hold off on items E, F, G, and H for a requested executive session after we move through some of the rest of the agenda, or the rest of the agenda.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Ayes have it. Okay, so we'll go to, and so now we'll close the public hearing on the zoning map amendment applications. And we need a public hearing on the city subdivision ordinance, Counselor?
Yes.
Okay. So we'll now consider and take action. We'll open a public hearing on amendments to the city subdivision ordinance, chapter 10, regarding amendments to plat procedures.
Would you like me to give a little overview?
Yes, please.
Briefly? Okay. So several months ago, if y'all remember, there was some conflicts with the subdivision ordinance on who has final plat approval. On one hand, it said the Planning and Zoning Commission, on the other hand, it said City Council. So I did a cleanup ordinance. Per your ordinance, it has to have a public hearing before the Planning and Zoning Commission, which we did on the December 1st meeting. And it's come to you, and there's a public hearing tonight, which is opened right now, it's basically a cleanup ordinance that puts final vesting with the preliminary plat, final approval with the council as the ordinance set in one place, and I think that might have been the practice how you have been doing it. So there's no action tonight on the ordinance, it's just to have a public hearing, to have anybody make any comments, and it's required by state law, so it might be a short public hearing, it might be that.
Okay. Are there any comments on the public hearing on amendments to the city subdivision ordinance, chapter 10, regarding amendments to plat procedures? I know. Any comments twice? Councilman Rowe.
Have we finalized, so for the citizens, if they wanted to do a plat application process, do we have a streamlined process or where we can either have that on the, if we're gonna make this change and update, are there 3 steps that we've written out that goes with this that says, you know, this is our process or procedure, so if someone wants to do a change, they say, okay, I need to do 1, 2, 3, and then, and if I submit it to planning and zoning, planning and zoning has 30 days to review this. If they don't do this, you can come to city council. Where is that document? Where is that?
There is a plat application that your former city attorney did right before she left, okay? So it might need a little tweaking, but it sets out the procedures, and, you know, the engineer will review plat, you send it to the planning commission, and the engineer reviews it and helps advise the planning commission in their role. They have 30 days to approve or disapprove, or approve with conditions, and then it goes to y'all, and y'all have 30 days.
And for the benefit of the council and audience, this is merely clearing up some confusion on the way these procedures were previously listed. Council caught and brought it to our attention, so we're just streamlining because it said 2 different things within the same thing, so this is simply clarifying it, just for your edification. Any other questions, comments, council, on item 3? Okay.
The fee for this process? Is there a fee?
I know there's a fee for all the permits, and plats require a permit.
There's a fee for the permits, and we will tell that we are working on doing a master schedule of fees right now, so we'll make sure that we get that in there because you need that.
Because sometimes the fee with the Bureau Veritas, the inspection agency there's a fee, and typically what has been approved for several years now is they come in and then I think we discussed this, it's gonna be hard to come up with a set fee schedule because a lot of it is based on the valuation of, and depending on the size of the plot, everything, you know, changes and based on the value. And so it's their fee plus a 15% admin fee with the city, so it's not costing the city to handle this. And if it costs $100 for them to come in and inspect it, it will be $115 that the applicant would pay. So again, it's just a 15% add-on because the city's people have to be engaged in that, and that process has been working well for the last several years. So it may not be a schedule, we may even put something up with Bureau Veritas plus a 15% city admin fee, which is something people are accustomed to. Okay, any other comments on item 3? Once. Any other comments on item 3 twice? Item 3, public hearing is now closed. Item 4, consider and take action for approval of the meeting minutes for the regular city council meeting on November 27, 2017. What's the pleasure of council?
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Randall.
I move that we approve the meeting minutes for December,
November 27th.
November 27, 2017.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded that the council approve the meeting minutes for the meeting on November 27, 2017. You've heard the motion, ready for the questions?
Question.
All those in favor say aye. Let the record show is unanimous. Citizen comments. We've got two. Mr. Leverett is out singing. Dr. Vita Brown?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor,
Good evening, ma'am.
City Council members, Council, Secretary, and all of the beautiful, wonderful citizens of Prairie View. I wanted to bring this to your attention because I think it's very important. A lot of times things go overlooked, but I'm the kind of person that if I think something is being overlooked, I'm going to bring it to your attention. You can shoot me down if you want to, but that's okay. I would like for you all, as City Council and Mayor, to be very cautious about fair treatment of women who are doing the job or in a position where they followed men previously were. I have sit here in these meetings for several occasions, and I've seen how some of you have done women. For example, Judge Simmons back there, Judge Overstreet was here as a man. I never saw him get the disrespect and the mistreatment that I saw Judge Simmons get. And the thing about it is, what you were on her about wasn't even in part of her job. So you were expecting her to perform things outside of her job, but I never saw you do that with Judge Overstreet. Maybe you did, maybe I just missed it. Someone told me that when something happens twice, that you're beginning to see a trend. If it happens 3 times, that's a pattern. Marie Herndon, before her, Jude Daniels. When you had men president of 4B, pretty much did what they wanted to do, which was pretty much nothing. The way that I saw some of you talk to, disrespect, and just totally diss Jude Daniels during the meeting, that was not acceptable. When I didn't see you do any men like that. And you were asking her to do something that was not a part of her job description. So if you're going to ask somebody to do something that's not part of their job, you need to ask them politely. All this arrogance and disrespect, that's not appropriate for Prairie View City Council. Then you turn around and do Marie Herndon the same way. This is the third thing. This is the third woman, so this is now a what? Pattern. You didn't do the men like that when they were president of 4B. When you got a woman, Jude Daniels, disrespected her. When you got a woman, Marie Herndon, you disrespected her. And you disrespected her because you were asking her to do things that were not a part of her job description. And ready to vote to get rid of her. That's not right. If you're going to treat men with respect when they're in these key positions, I think, no, I know, from a legal perspective, and just outright a human dignity perspective, that you need to treat the women the same way. And I'm not asking you to treat them any better or any different, but I'm saying the same respect that you give the men, give it to the women too. Thank you.
Well, thank you, ma'am. Well, what you bring up, since it's public knowledge, I guess it's a good opportunity to touch bases. Council has in front of you a copy of the Prairie View City Ordinances Rules of Decorum, and I would ask that you read it, because what Dr. Brown basically points out to us is not only should we treat everyone like we'd like to be treated, but public meetings, and this is a public meeting, they've got some pretty strict rules. And unfortunately, what Dr. Brown references, there's no place for them in public meetings. Chief, I think you mentioned a few meetings ago about an ordinance violation for disrupting a public meeting.
It's a penal code violation.
Penal code, like arrest? Okay, that's a little worse than what I thought. But it says a couple of things, and I'm just gonna touch on them so we can go forward, because it is important that we respect each other and respect you, because we're your public servants. And it says on section 1.515, rules of debate. Even debating has specific rules, and these are city ordinances. They generate from Robert's Rules of Order, which is internationally known and the city adopted many years ago. But it says, every member desiring to speak shall address the mayor, and upon recognition by the presiding officer, the mayor, shall confine him or herself to the question under debate, avoiding all personalities and indecorous language. I'd like to certainly feel that I recognize my council members, and I'd like to feel that they recognize me, at least while I'm in this position wearing this hat as mayor. But it shouldn't matter about the sex, but unfortunately there's some validity to what you say, and people have brought it to my attention, and that's why I just happen to have this here today, because we want to go about doing the city's business, but we want to do it in a respectful manner. And I believe in treating people the way I wish to be treated. But you also have that situation where we're all human, and at some point you start treating people like they treat you, and then we got chaos, and there's really no place for that. So our ordinances take care of that. But again, thank you for your comments and your honesty, Dr. Brown. Administration, Ms. Dickey, anything to share with council this evening? Okay, and myself listed from an administration standpoint, but we can do it now or we'll run through it. Mr. Johnson.
Good evening to the mayor, city council members, department heads, residents of the city of Prairie View, and friends of the area. What we have here, if you would get the combined financial statement, that's the one with the red cover. That is the unaudited financial statement that will be audited by your outside auditor. If you look at, and what it does is it combines the different departments that are within the city of Prairie View. Now, this particular financial does not include 4B. 4B stands by itself. So if you look at page 1, this is your balance sheet, and it lists by the columns on the governmental funds. It lists the general, special revenue, which you don't have any, and debt service. For those of you who might not be familiar with what special revenue is, special revenue is if you have a subdivision. As a prime example. Whereas that they want to have something done in their subdivision, and the residents of that subdivision pool their money together and in essence give it to the city to have that project completed. That's what special revenue is. But we don't have any of that at the present time. And listed separately is crime control, and then your enterprise, which is your public works, and then you have a separate column for your general fixed assets, which is accounted for in a separate cost center by governmental accounting rules, and then your general long-term debt. If you look at, go to page 2, let's look at and see what our total assets are for the city. If you look at page 2 and come over to, on the 2017, column 217, right in the middle, you see total assets. Total assets of the city is $13,583,803. I've shown here 5-year comparisons. So for any line item, you go, and I would encourage you to kind of look at this, you can see the changes over the years. Also, I will email to the city secretary the other years to this particular schedule here.
that go back to 1994. And I will email that to the city secretary. She'll have that on file. So any of you, you can have her, download a copy of it to you or what have you, if you want to see that particular file. But for just presentation purposes, I just condensed this to 5 years. So we do have it back to 94. So that gives you an idea of your total assets of the city. And let's look at the total debt on page 3. Total debt for the city, if you look at total liabilities, is $6,103,570. And then the equity of the city, and that's what we own, the assets you own without any debt against it, is $7,480,233. And the total debt equals your total assets of $13,583,803. That's the gist of a combined statement. If you go to page 4, that's an income statement of revenue and expenditures for your governmental segment. And again, you have the 5-year comparison there that you can look at. And just looking at the very first line, taxes, you'll see that in 2013 your taxes was $1,000,001 revenue, in 2017 taxes $1,463,000. So that gives you a comparison there. Basically, you haven't. That's a combination of both property taxes, sales taxes, and franchise taxes. But over that period, we really haven't raised the property tax rate. What has increased is the valuation. You've added new property within the city, and some of you valuations have gone up. The other items here of interest, if you go to page 6, is public works. You get a 5-year run on public works there, and you can see just what the trends are within the city. I just would ask each of you to just look at certain line items, and you can see some of your trends. For instance, I'm going to go down here to sewage and wastewater treatment. If I go back to 2013, sewage and wastewater treatment was $165,000. In 2017, it's $397,000. And that's primarily because of the rate increases that we've sustained there. Now, just by comparison, I'm going to look at repairs and maintenance. And that's all the repairs on all of the lift stations primarily within your utility district. If you look at 2015, it was $233,000. And in 2016, it went up to $307,000. But 2017, it went back down to 241. And remember, we put a strategy in place, and that was to purchase a backhoe. And that backhoe has helped us to bring that cost down. But I will caution you, there is another problem in utilities. And I have to do some more studies there, but we're starting to experiencing some large costs with our new contractor. So
now, are you speaking of beyond? Because remember, they pointed out to us several months ago that we had situations like 2 lift stations that had been acting.
And that's exactly what we're looking at.
Right.
Go ahead.
And we opted to make those things work by getting sewer pumps instead of water pumps in lift stations, where we haven't had those problems. We've also increased pumps around Alta Vista and the Chevron station, Richards Road, because of the increase in business and, again, to help make them function better. So are those the indigenous costs that you're referring to?
Well, we are in the process of doing a study. We just got a whole slew of new invoices in. And we want to see the lift stations where we made the improvements. We were hoping to see less maintenance costs. And that's a study we're doing to see if that is a result. Because one thing was brought to our attention, even though we increased the pump capacity, that the lines are small. And that you increase the pumps, you still got a small line.
Well,
that could still cause a problem, so I don't know.
And you're right, we ran into that at Richards Road, and we increased that from, I think, a 2 to a 6. So those are pre-existing situations that we're continuing to address as we encounter them. But like you said, these are things that are necessary because of either where we were years ago and where we are now with the increased volume and usage. So
That's
those
right.
are a couple of things that we're taking a look at. Yes, Councilman.
Yes, sir.
Where are we, you're talking about the contract with Public Works, or is it US, is that USW?
USW.
Where are we at as far as overages in the cost? Like, so we had a budget, we have how much we allocate monthly.
What we're seeing is just continuous cost at the lift stations. And we're doing a study. We haven't completed it yet. A reference. We want to definitely focus on the lift stations where we did make some improvements. We did 3 lift stations. We spent roughly $51,000, $53,000 each one. And we want to see over a period of time if those improvements have brought the operating costs down in those lift stations. But each month, it's invariable that we're still experiencing quite a bit of maintenance costs at the lift station.
Where is the insurance claim?
The
Because
insurance
several of
claims?
them-
We're still working with them. We haven't received all the funds.
Okay, so we know what we've spent, but we have to also take a look at what we brought in through the insurance claim to see
Right.
what we've truly spent.
Mhm.
So in other words, if
That's
if
part
the
of our
claim
analysis.
was 20,000, we didn't spend 51,
Well,
we spent 31.
Again, that's part of our analysis. We haven't completed it yet.
Okay.
I'm just telling you that we are making this analysis, and we'll report back to you once we've completed our work on that. But that is something that we're looking into.
Okay.
I just want to bring it to you guys' attention that we are experiencing quite a few invoices pertaining to lift stations.
Well, our lift station situation is an issue,
Right.
I agree, but I'll also say this, we no longer have the type of quantity of complaints from our residents.
Yeah,
either. And this is about taking care of our residents, so.
Well, you know, what concerns me is the cost.
Sure.
Because again, we're looking at that compared to what we can in the budget. And if I see that going into this fiscal year, again, we got that concern. And the other concern in utilities is the rate. And I'm going to reference that when I go to the October report.
Now, are you factoring in, I believe when he was here, Fred Alexander was our second highest employee, our public works supervisor. I want you to factor in his salary that we've no longer been paying either.
Yeah,
Because
well-
I've been, hold on.
Go ahead.
Because in order to get true cost, you gotta implement everything. So those things that I've been doing combined with what US Water's been doing that Mr. Alexander used to do, those are tangibles, and we have to factor them in to see where we are versus where we were. Because if you go back a year and a half, Mr. Alexander's salary was included in public works, so
You're
we
right.
have to include everything.
All right, reference page 6 on that report I just gave you. And let's look at wages for public works. Look at wages. Wages was 87,000 in 2013. 14 it went to 113,000. 15 146, and with Fred 210,000 in 16. It dropped down to 170 in 17. So that right there is what you're referencing.
How did wages, no it didn't, it went down. It went down. Look at the 2 years. How did it work with the wages in public works when the city was contracted with Severn Trent? Was the city still paying employees wages, or they paid it to Severn Trent? How did it work?
No, we still had a person on hand along with Severn Trent.
Okay.
We'd have to go back into some further years, and you can see it here.
Okay.
Right.
Gotcha. Okay.
It would be less though.
Yeah.
So if you look, I mean, again, we're looking at, if we look at 2017 and you look at 2013, now on one end, we have, I guess you'll say the difference between in-house services versus contract services. But 87,000 versus 2017, 170,000, that's a big jump.
Right.
But then we're also saying that we're over in public works, maintenance, and charges. And so we can't keep dodging the conversation that we need to have, whether it be through workshop. I think it's on the agenda to have this conversation, but we really need to have the conversation about where we at in reference to Public Works. And I've asked I've asked USW, they were gonna give us an assessment based upon Hurricane Harvey, based upon prior to that with all the lift stations, where things were at and how we move forward with putting together. I think last meeting we talked about putting together some maintenance schedules because we need to be rotating how we're maintaining all our assets. And so hopefully, I think later on the agenda we'll get into those questions, but the difference, that my question for JJ was, again, the difference from, say, 2013, 165 online in reference to sewer and wastewater treatment, we're at $397,193. And when are we going to have a conversation to address that? Because we just letting it pile on.
Where are the Severn Trent fees in 2013? Where would they be found? Which line?
There was none in 2013.
Okay, so they've been gone quite that long?
Right. Mhm.
Okay.
See, what we did is, as opposed to, we changed the contract. As opposed to them having been a full contractor, they went to just a consultant.
So there are consulting fees here somewhere?
It would be under, we'd have to go back, I'd have to let me pull up the other years of this schedule, you see it.
Okay.
Because so when we first had, like USW, we went back to, you changed the name from USW to Severn Trent, whatever company.
Right.
We outsourced it, then we figured out that they were charging us 10% on top of everything that we did. So what did we do? We got up to speed and then we got out of Severn and Trent, and we only used them when we had things that were that our in-house people could not handle. So we were maximizing the services. And so, but then it shows that we came back to USW when we've been with them for 2 years.
No, just about, not a full year.
Not a full year.
Not a full year yet.
But keep in mind, we now have equipment and services that work versus whatever the city was paying, it wasn't working. We had broken equipment, we had the wrong pumps. So you can look at dollars, but you can also look at maybe evidently, the city got what it paid for and it didn't get too much. Because the the sewer infiltration in the people's homes and that sort of thing has literally been eradicated. And those were a lot of the calls that came in 18 months ago. So.
I agree, but I mean, we're not, I guess, I don't think anyone here is talking about the fault or the reason. I'm talking about the mere number from 2013 being 165, and now 2017 being 397. And so what do we need to do to have a conversation to get that number down? So I don't think it's about, who did what. I think we just need to figure out what is our game plan. We talked about this at the last meeting, and I think it's on our agenda, so
yeah, and
thank you for
that's part of the analysis that we're going to give you guys, because we've identified that area there, because we're looking at some of these invoices that are coming in, and invariably it's the same lift station. And so we're going to put an analysis together for you guys, and that way, hopefully, we can start answering some of these questions that you're bringing up.
Okay.
If there are not any other questions pertaining to the, and that's this is the statement that the auditor will receive. And this is one that he will audit as far as our financial position and with the city, and the correctness of the way we've accounted for it, and make sure that it does fall within generally accepted accounting principles.
Gotcha.
Okay, the next report is your October report. And again, it's the first month of new fiscal year. And so it's not that much activity, but in the month we did show revenue of $284,000 versus the budget of $282, expenses of $123 versus $268. And so in both cases there, that's a favorable situation. If you go to page 2, you'll see your current cash positions. You'll see that the tax account is low at this time, but what we did do, we transferred some funds out of tax into general fund So is that, if you notice, the general fund account is showing $170,000. We wanted to make sure that we had enough monies in general fund, because that's where we pay most of our bills out of. So that's why we drew down from the tax department account. That account primarily is what we call the account for reserve purposes. In other words, that account always lets us know that that's what we have on reserve for any emergency situation that might occur. But altogether, at the end of the month, we had $1.7 million versus the prior month of $1.8 million. I'm going to run you over to page 3, because at page 3, you will see the property tax receivable is showing $609,000. Debt, and that's for what we call materials and operations. Debt service under the same asset shows $420,000. Roughly, we have $1,029,000 worth of outstanding tax debt at the current time, but that includes, we just billed $893,000 of taxes to the residents and the vendors for this year. So that gives you an idea of, and that's our major revenue source.
And our tax collection rate has been what?
Well, we got up to
Percentage?
90 plus, 90%. And when you, let me just qualify that.
Yeah.
The Waller County, not the Waller County, but the school district, they put out a publication that says collection rate of 100%. The way they get 100% is, we bill $893,000. If you collect in the year at least that amount, which includes delinquent taxes, that's how they get 100% collection rate. Okay. So if you hear that 100% collection rate, that's what they do. That's how they advertise it. But for our purposes, we look at what we actually collect versus what's billed.
My question briefly on current
Yes, sir.
assets. It shows that we have, where is this money in current assets located? So it says Prairie Federal Credit Union, $978.36. Cash would be Prosperity Bank.
Oh, all our cash accounts are with Prosperity Bank, right?
All right, and so street cash, that's through Prosperity. And so this is a correct number for the credit union?
Yes. Well, it might be a few more dollars. They haven't given us our interest statement for the past year. But the interest on this, we won't have $978.
And Councilman brings up a good point, because what came out of that was the EDC attempted to do a cash infusion, and the credit union situation, because of the type and I guess the community is supposed to be serving, couldn't even accept that $250,000 check.
Right.
So that's something we're working with them on too. But yeah, it came up again at the credit union meeting, but I totally agree with you. Anything else, Mr. Johnson?
Well, I brought out the tax situation. I want you guys to just reference that. And the only other item is, and again, I'm going to go to Public Works here. Go to page 11. You look at page 11, under current liabilities, you see wastewater treatment payable, $422,000. That's the amount we owe on just this roughly 16-month period where we've been disputing the wastewater. That's not the original note. The original note that we had is we paid it down to the current portion this year would be that $51,000 that you see there, and the balance of it is under long term or $87,362. So I just want to bring it to your attention.
That's closer to a 24-month period when that took place.
Yeah, right, but it's up to $422,000. And that $30,000 that you see there, I had to accrue that for the month of October because, again, we're not getting our bills from the university, and we need to show wastewater treatment because we incur it every month. And so I will be accruing it, and then I make adjustments to it once I get a bill. because we were misrepresenting these statements when we leave that cost off.
Correct. I have a
Yes.
question.
Mm-hmm.
If we're accruing it at 30,000, but we're paying only a percentage of that, where are you making that adjustment at?
Okay, the adjustment comes into payable. We have to put the actual expense down, but when we pay it, it's in the payable. In other words, the payable increases because we're not expending the same amount of cash. So if we were paying the total bill, that would not be a payable.
Right.
That's where it is. So what happens is, since we're paying less than what it is, that payable will continue to increase.
Right, which is right here.
That 422.
Long term. That's the
No.
larger number, but this 87, how many
Okay.
months is that?
All right, that 87 is a part of that original note that goes back, 10, 15 years, that we entered into with the university.
Okay.
For the original, what was it, 800?
Because we had the payment plan.
Yeah, we're paying $4,300 a month on that. That's a payment plan. And so we paid that down to, current portion would be 51,000, and then after this current year, we're only gonna have 87,000 left. So that's roughly one more year and a half.
But
We
I
have to
guess
pay on it.
the question,
Go ahead.
that's on the payment plan.
Right.
We've then incurred a balance of $300,000 in addition, so we got a $422,000.
No. The addition is the 422 that you see there.
Uh-huh.
That's just the how many months, Mayor?
24, 2
Well,
years now.
roughly 24 months. Since we've been disputing it, the cost, we still owe, we now owe this 422.
And this is billed.
Right.
So I guess my question is, what is our strategy, or what are we doing moving forward financially with this obligation? Because this is what we talked about last month, that we're paying a percentage, and we don't have to say what the percentage is, but we're paying a percentage. And so that's how this keeps going up. So I don't know if we're, when do we have this conversation? When do we come up with what are we gonna do?
That's to be determined.
How long can we incur, on our balance sheet, how long can we continue to incur this?
So let's try this.
That's something.
What's a good date for a public hearing for the council? What's a good date? All of us are here except Councilwoman Barnett. Or y'all let council set the date and
Y'all
then
set a
we'll
date and get back with me.
sit down and discuss it.
We discuss it, right.
Okay.
Right. And the only other thing here, if we go over to, I always gotta look at this here, it's not too bad, let's go to page 17. The amount of debt that we have set aside for this current fiscal period is what you see available to retire current debt at the top, $134,187. That's what we know we will incur, and if you wanna know how that $134,187, what it's comprised of, look on the current liabilities. And that'll tell you each item that makes up the $134,000 that we're obligated to pay during this fiscal period. Now, what will be added to this, we just made an acquisition of a new Explorer for you guys, administrative car, and that debt will be added to this. And we're in negotiation for the 2 pickup trucks for the utility department. That'll be added to this here, and the new police cars that we will find, they're already been ordered, and once we complete the contract, they'll be added to this. And with that, that's my presentation for the night.
Any other questions for Mr. Johnson, council? Thank you, sir. Judge Alexander. Municipal Court.
Good evening, Mayor, Allen, City Council members, citizens of Prairie View. You all have your monthly report that I distribute each month. There's one thing that I added to the report that I just want to bring your attention to. And if you will look at the actual report, now you have 2 packets from me, but the actual monthly report that I distribute each month, if you will look at page 2 of 3, and look down at the bottom of the page, you see that graph, that pie chart? I included the Linebarger collection to, so that you would know what type of return we are receiving with their efforts, their collection efforts. And so, if you would combine those two numbers, the collections that's in the blue and the collections that's in the red, that's the total collection cases. But I just wanted to separate the Linebarger since council voted that they would start being our collection agency, so that you all would see their effort. Do you have any questions about the monthly report? Now you have another packet? Oh, did you have questions, sir?
No, ma'am.
Okay, all right.
Have you, the things that you, since we started the first quarter, the things that you asked for during the budget cycle, I think it was a computer or something, have you gotten those things?
We have gotten our, there were a few things, there were a couple of things like some additional file cabinets that I haven't gotten yet. It's not really urgent, so I just kind of want to see how we're doing before I purchase the file cabinets. But we have gotten our computer equipment, we've gotten it set up and working well.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Anything
Yes,
else?
sir.
Thank
Okay.
you, ma'am.
Oh, I'm not done.
Oh, go ahead.
That's the first packet.
Oh, excuse me, go ahead.
Okay, now you have another packet of information that's paperclip together. I also want to inform council that our new deputy court clerk has gone to her court clerk boot camp. So this week she's learning all things deputy court clerk in Austin. Okay, in that packet that you have, the first sheet is an article where the City of Prairie View Municipal Court was featured in the Texas Town and City magazine that's published by TML. And so we were recognized for our Seasoned Citizen Driving Safety Symposium. And if I may address the public,
Yes.
there are some sheets of some copies of the article out there on the table. I'm very, very proud that we were recognized for this because we're gonna do it bigger and better in 2018, so be ready in May.
And this is in which publication?
This
again,
is a
Judge?
Texas Town and City published by the Texas Municipal League. It's a statewide magazine.
Big
And
deal.
so,
Well, congratulations.
thank you so much, thank you.
Absolutely.
The other thing is that the municipal court for Prairie View was asked to participate in a survey. And the survey is the next section of documents that you all have.
Page 1.
It's from the National Center for State Courts. We participated in a survey, and the survey was regarding fairness and legal financial obligations. The time is kind of spent, so I don't want to go through all of the pages with you all, but you have all of it there in front of you. The surveys were done by the different sizes of courts. They were classified as high-volume courts based on a particular population, then mid-volume courts based on a particular population, and low-volume courts based on a particular population. We fall in that low-volume court classification. I would like to go all the way without having to go through these sheets because of time, but you have them. But if you will look in that packet on the last 3 pages, you will see that the City of Prairie View was above average. We were about a 90%. And so I think that's great because this information came from defendants. This was not by the court staff. This was by defendants, people who have come through our court system. Some of them were found guilty and punished, you know, so, but anyway, it was cases that were open, cases that were closed, and we didn't have a say in which cases they were. It was random. And so this was done, and I'm just very happy to say that people feel like they're being treated fairly in the City of Prairie View Municipal Court. So you have that in front of you. The next thing you have is our 2017-18 court calendar.
So, Judge, just for the record, to read into it, the overall was averaging mid to high 80s,
Right.
mid 80s.
Right.
And the city of Prairie View had a 90, a 89, a 90, a 88, a 95, and a 90.
Correct.
I think even on the campus, they still call that honor roll,
Well, we made
magna cum laude or something.
And Mayor, since you went through that, may I just, we have 1, 2, 3, 5 questions that were on the questionnaire. And one of the questions was, would you please read it for me? My vision is not good.
Sure.
It's like,
The judge listened to my side of the story before deciding the method of satisfying my fine or fees. We received a 90. I was treated the same as everyone else, an 89. I got a chance to tell the judge about my ability to pay fines and fees. That was another 90. The judge made a fair and impartial decision about fines and fees related to my case based on the facts. It was an 88. As I leave the court, I know what to do next with respect to my obligation to pay any fines and fees. That's a 95. And overall average, again, is a 90, so it's
okay,
incredible.
thank you, sir. And if you look at the last page of that, it's a black and white copy that looks like this. It shows you how the city of Prairie View measured up against the other total. And we exceeded those. We were above the rest. Okay.
Great, great.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
We appreciate you.
Okay, thank you.
Great job,
Thank you,
Great job.
thank you. Okay, now you all have the court calendar, just for your information. Those are our court days and recognized holidays, and we try to stick strictly to it because officers use this calendar to set court dates when they write citations or file cases. This is used by the city as well as the university. And last but not least, Councilmember Rowland, almost last, one more thing after this. Councilmember Rowland, you requested that I give you a number of cases that were filed during homecoming, and that's one of the sheets that you all have. Okay, if you look at the dates and the cases that are in the orange, I included these dates, even though it wasn't really during homecoming, so that you can make your own assessment on whether you think that there was additional traffic in the city that attributed to the citations that were written. And I also if you look in the blue, that I went one day past homecoming so that you can make your own assessment. But those were the cases that were filed in municipal court during the homecoming period.
Thank you very, very much.
And then, one more thing. This form, I have some, I don't know if I put them in your stations or not, but I have some right here, if you would just take it. I am also part of the Flood Control Committee, and we've been meeting for a while now, trying to talk about some ways to mitigate the flooding and the impact of the flooding when we have heavy rains in the city of Prairie View. The Flood Control Committee will be conducting surveys here at City Hall on December 14th from 10 o'clock a.m. until 5 o'clock p.m. And the questionnaire is also on the table out in the hallway. But these are the questions that the committee members will be asking, and we are trying to gauge exactly what kind of damages we have sustained in the city for our residents. Mayor put us in touch with Representative Cecil Bell, and he's working with us, but we want to have some tangible data to submit. And so we have already been in the field with Representative Cecil Bell, as well as Texas Department of Transportation. So we're going to do a robocall, and primarily Prairie Hill subdivision was hit harder than any other subdivisions. And so we are looking for hopefully those residents to come out and fill out the questionnaire. You don't have to fill it out. Our representatives from the Flood Control Committee, citizens here, will fill it out for you. But I did put some on the table. You might know some people who are displaced and may not know about this questionnaire, may not know to come on that date, this Thursday on the 14th. So we will do a robocall, and like I said, it's primarily for Prairie Hills residents, but if you know somebody or you were affected by the flood, we would like to get that data too. And that's it.
And while you're finishing that, Elizabeth Vargas with the Small Business Administration Federal Disaster came in, I think, last Thursday or Friday, and we missed her, but she was just confirming that FEMA had gotten back with us. We had filled out the necessary paperwork, but somehow we fell in the cracks even though the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers came through and we met with them. But, so, yeah, the whole FEMA process is going forward, and we're just keeping everyone who was affected within our city aware of this. It's been much worse than last year, Judge, because this thing was so massive that everyone's backlogged, including repair and contractor people, but
It was, Mayor,
we're getting there.
but based on the time frame from the date of the disaster to the date that we started meeting with FEMA for recovery, we're really on time. So FEMA will also be here on Thursday, the
Right.
14th, and we'll be having a recovery strategy meeting, a scoping meeting. So they'll have FEMA representatives come out from different departments. And then the people who will be included in that for the city of Prairie View will be those who are directly working with the recovery efforts or who directly or indirectly work during the hurricane, during the disaster. So.
And thank you again for your assistance with that whole process. It's been invaluable, so we certainly appreciate it. Chief Solomon.
Have any questions on the report?
Chief, would you say the calls for service have gone up, more people are calling?
Oh, absolutely, calls for service has definitely gone up. I don't have much, but I would like to commend the officers here. We've started what we call proactive pass on. And that proactive pass on means that no shift leaves this station without telling the other shift everything that happened before they got here. So with that pass on, and through that pass on, we've managed to arrest a murder suspect. Last week, we arrested a gentleman who had, we suspected him of selling narcotics. And so that pass on was given to the night shift. They went to his house because he had a parole violation as well. He tried to go out the back window, but the police was at the back window, so he decided to open the door. We arrested him on that parole violation, and we're also going to file a criminal negligence on him for another incident. This thing is working. So one by one, you know, we've got it in the where you can go in, see something, say something. These things will work on them one by one. Each day when we get a call, we start to work on that. And the pass on is helping us, and it's helping each officer know exactly what to look for once they get out on the street. I don't know how we survive without it, but that's the way you do it. And I'd like to commend the officers because they're doing it, and then they're going out there and doing the work. I'm at home after about 9 or 10, but they're out there doing the work, and they're taking care of the business, and I'd like to commend them and like the citizens to know that they need to be commended for that.
Absolutely.
Where is the status on the new officers?
We've hired two. We've hired two, one full-time, one part-time. We have an interview tomorrow, and we still have two more to hire after that. It's a slow process because we have to weed people. We have to weed people out. We've kicked more people out than we've hired. That's for sure.
Two questions. One, the people who you extended an offer to, when did they come before council, or when will we get to meet them?
I would like to swear them in before council. So whatever council meeting that, would you like to do that? We'd like to do it. I'm just because we haven't sworn those guys in because we'd like to swear them in before council. They'll give you a chance to meet them.
That's the first question. Thank you, Chief. The report is a good report. Hopefully we'll, council, this is we asked the chief about the homecoming report, it was accurate, it was good. And then the third, I'm working on a resolution, ordinance, no, not resolution, ordinance, a policy.
Okay.
And I want to, when our interactions with a police officer, it's called Know Your Rights. So it is, we want to know that what is our current policy on stops. So a police officer issues a citation, is all police officers' name and identification on the citation? If not, how do we either use the citation or a business card to make sure that there is a two-way communication between the police department and those people being stopped in our community. So, that's something for Tony, that, I just came back from a conference, and that's one of the things I wanna work on, so I just wanna put that out there to find out.
And that's a really, really good deal. One of the things that I did when I retired last time was we put together a forum where we went to, and we were asked to do this. And what I did was I took police officers from different agencies, different backgrounds, different ethnicities. And we went to different places. We started at churches. And what we did, and it's just like they had on the college campus, we went to those places and we gave people a chance to ask those questions. And it made people more aware of what they should do and what they should do when they're stopped by the police. And so it all pulls in together, so it's a good thing. It's a good thing.
So, and Chief, I certainly want to commend you and our officers, because that unfortunate incident with DPS State Trooper Allen being killed up in Fairfield about 3 hours from here, he was caught in the city of Prairie View. And Sergeant Garrett, I know, was out there, and we just want to thank you and again, encourage you guys to stay safe, but we certainly appreciate what you're doing to keep us safe. And Dr. Brown was another set of eyes, just letting me know there were 25 to 30 cars just in front of her house alone. I said, well, it's more around. And a helicopter. Yeah, so that coordinated effort in working with those multiple agencies and what have you to catch the bad guys, which is what we want done here. We certainly appreciate all that you all are doing and continue to do.
I encourage you all to read that report, and if there's any questions or anything that you would think we want to add or that we might want to do, let us know. Okay.
Thanks, Chief. Public Works, if there's anything, I think, as Mr. Johnson said, and we're working on doing with USW, we got a email maybe a few days to a week ago on the, I think the final 2 insurance claims, maybe 3, are being processed by Texas Municipal League, Intergovernmental Risk Pool, our insurance carrier. So we'll get all those, then we can compare that too, and like you said, just make sure we see where we are and what have you, from improvements to reimbursements on things that went out for a variety of reasons. I know we've got one of the big claims, and I don't know how big, was our water tower out here went out, and that was critical. And I think it was Chris that we were out there till about midnight. And when those guys come in with that expertise, one guy couldn't get in here because the rain was so bad. But those things, we're determined at all hours of the day and night to make sure they keep working. One, there'd be some real serious TCQ violations if we couldn't provide water to our people. But number 2, to make sure we don't have those type of issues. So when you factor in Hurricane Harvey, normal repairs or upgrades and things like that, I'm not at all surprised, but we are taking a look at it. Unfortunately, every opportunity we have to file an insurance claim, we're doing that. So while we get the invoice in, there's also some money coming on the backside to offset that to the extent that it was covered. So, but if there are any particular, and I don't think we set a date, which I think is a good thing, but council, do we want to do it working with council or in between emails to set a date for discussing our public works or water sewer situation with the university? That particular?
Yeah, I have a meeting coming up with Dr. Finley and Dr. Bradford, but in addition to what we have, I definitely want to set for a workshop, because again, and some of the things for the workshop, I think for us to work through is, if still talking about public works, is that we came from, knowing the story. And I think we have a number of people who've been around, we have a number of people who've left, but we need to make sure that we follow and maintain the story. We went with Servant and Trent for a reason. we took Servant Trent out for a reason. We brought it in-house, and then some things changed, and then we brought in USW because of our main person who was licensed moved on. And I don't think we've had enough an opportunity to recap those decisions. And I think hopefully when we do have a workshop or whatever, town hall, or whatever we're gonna have, that we're able to get the information, because just to come there, just to, you know, we want to be able to have information. So if USW would be there, or whoever, that would also help, because they're the ones currently that's walked us through however many lift stations we have. Like you know, again, maybe a 1 or 2 page thing if we could ask them, you know, if, you know, over the last 6 months, they've been updating us on lift stations, where they're at. We've replaced 3 of them. And then, you know, a lot of the things that we have to claim on insurance, but all of that also, the maintenance, like the numbers show, have been going up, even with those changes. And so we want to make sure that, you know, we're not just giving a blank check to an organization, that we are helping to be consistent on things, you know, or whatever that cycle may be, because, you know, again, it may be time for some of the upkeep and maintenance on some of the lift stations, and we don't have a cycle, we don't have a calendar on what that looks like, and that's something that we all can create together.
Sure. Well, like you said, you bring up some good points. It's just that in falling into this, the situation was chaotic, to say the least, and now we're getting a handle on it. But it took having those professionals in here to do that. I'd like to, for the record, make sure we discuss, you mentioned a meeting with Bradford and Finley, and I think I sent you an email on that. So before that meeting takes place, I want to make sure that, or if that meeting is going to take place, because that's not something that you've been directed to do, but we'll go forward and deal with that later.
So I think, council, we all agreed that I could, but again, part of, I guess, the differentiation between powers, that, just so we be clear, council is elected just like the mayor. Any council person go talk to any person. I didn't say I'm going to talk to them about our contract, but we waited for you for 15 months to get the particular rate that we're paying, and that hasn't happened. At our last meeting, you agreed, along with council, that I would make some effort to move forward on some things that you hadn't been able to get done. Not for me, but to bring back to council and the mayor. And so, again, the mayor has his authority and the city council has their authority. And so I am not, based upon what I've been duly sworn in to do, I'm not going in and negotiating a contract based upon the city, because I don't have that authority. But I can meet with whoever I need to meet with. That's why I didn't reply to your email.
Okay, well, I just want to make sure we're clear that council sets policy. Okay. Councilman Rowland, council report.
Good afternoon, happy holidays to you. It's just a lovely and joyous occasion. How can anybody be or feel any way in the month of December after we just had the Prairie View Christmas carolers who've been doing this for many years, and that is joyous. I don't know if many of you know, there is a lot of different personalities in this community, and to see all the men come together to sing, that is something that shows that our community can move forward. We may have difference of opinion, but we all will move forward for the betterment of this community. Again, I had the opportunity to serve the city at a conference, Local Progress held a conference on racial justice in our communities. We talked about social justice and equity within the police department and the economic spend in which municipalities, so it was about 90 to 100 elected officials at this conference. We met in Baltimore, Maryland at Coppin State University, which is an HBCU, and we talked about engaging in a conversation around asset forfeiture. What is our cash bill policies and some of the things in reference to municipalities, because the institution is a system, right? The court system, the criminal justice system, no one of us controls that, but the more that we understand that, the more we're able to affect change in our communities. And so one of the things that in 2018 that we'll hopefully bring forward is a know your rights policy that would implement within the police department, so that if anyone stopped in the city of Prairie View, again, the name, information, and kind of some brief information on the exchange, where a person, if they feel however they feel, right? Because we don't want to feel, we've had some things happen in our community before, and so we just want to make sure that we do that, but also encourage the police department to have some community conversations about equity and some of those things about cultural bias. And so, again, that's one of the things that, moving forward, that I wanted to do. I also had the opportunity to represent, not represent the city. I had the opportunity, I had a meeting, and one of our property owners, Roy G. Perry, who owns some property, was at this meeting, and he did talk about how he, had gotten portion of his property out. That was another ETJ, so that was a positive thing. And so I think the mayor's supposed to be meeting with them and then seeing how we move his property, because that project has stalled. That's, I think, a 30-acre project, and I think that'll be impactful. Again, had the opportunity to, well, anyway, two things. The city had the opportunity to represent the Prairie View Chamber of Commerce at our board meeting in San Antonio. We will be hosting the Texas Association of African American Chamber of Commerce in the second quarter of the year in the city of Prairie View, and will be hosting the Texas Association of Black City Council Members in the city of Prairie View. So those are two statewide organizations that will be coming to the city of Prairie View, and be on the lookout because we'll also be bringing the Texas NAACP. Thank you. They're gonna have to stay on Walnut, but they're gonna meet in Prairie View.
Councilman Rowe? Randall?
No report.
Councilman Jones?
Good evening. Thankful for the opportunity to serve. This past week, I got an opportunity to sit down and meet with Chief Solomon and Judge Alexander to figure out a way that we can communicate effectively with our respondents. I think the meeting went well. I got an opportunity to know them upon a deeper level and just sit down and have a conversation, and hopefully we can put the app into place and form that communication so everyone can be upon the same page. I also got an opportunity to speak with Principal Bates at Jones Elementary School. A goal of mine before I became a city council member was to bridge a gap between, the students and the youth of Prairie View, as well with the university. So over the next couple of weeks, I'll be working upon the adoption of Jones Elementary School, so that way the students on campus could mentor the youth in the community. And thank you, and I'll continue to serve.
Thank you, Councilwoman Williams.
No report at this time.
Okay. The mayor's report, one thing I want to, well, I guess I'll deal with that when it comes out. But the $350,000 EDA U.S. Department of Commerce grant that we received, we're finalizing bidding and doing the specification of docs to get that going. And that is for improving the sewer infrastructure in our oldest community with Clay over in Alta Vista. There's some $50,000 to $1.5 million Texas Department of Agriculture grants. Spoke with a project manager, and he said that we're pretty good candidates, so we're supposed to be talking possibly as soon as tomorrow on applying for some more of those types of things. Attended the State of Waller County luncheon, and that's where they really gave a nice update on so much of the activity that's going on throughout the county. Seeking some voluntary annexation and speaking with residents in a couple of different areas throughout the city, and also interface with our city attorney as well. The annexation from Houston, Mr. Perry's project originally, somewhere around 3 years ago, was a 33.5 acre project, and it still is. The misunderstanding was, for some reason, they thought the entire 33.5 acres was within Harris County. Turns out it was only 11.9. So they released that, and now we're going forward. I sent him the information to do a voluntary annexation request form and some other information, so he'll be getting back with me on that. The zip code situation, I know we mentioned it a couple of times. What came out of that for the edification of council and others is that that process you can only do every 10 years. And the U.S. Postal Service said, period. And I think we've got roughly 2 more years before we can undertake that again. So it's something that's been going on for, I don't know, 30 to 35 years. But it can't be addressed until that time. They sent us the form, the paperwork, they sent the last denial, but certainly something that we need to work on, and just can't really move on it yet, even though there are some folks in the community with the committee that former Mayor Jackson had installed, that I empowered to continue their work as a committee. Dr. Hawkins, Mr. Darrell Johnson, and several others that are working on that. The interlocal agreements with Waller County, there's about to be some major changes, and I don't recall if it expired at the end of November or at the end of December. And with that in mind, if it does expire at the end of December, just gonna see what all projects we can put in there and get it in there before they change the pro rata share of what the county pays versus what we pay. I've been having an open door policy since election a year and a half ago, and that continues to work rather well because people's schedules are changeable all the time. So when they are up here, I tend to stop what I'm doing and address their issues and what have you, because that's important. We collected $2,200 on an ordinance violation lien from 2014. So we're excited about that. Now we're just trying to go through the process and find out how many more liens do we have out there, because the filing and paperwork is not really conducive to. So, but as someone tries to buy or sell, they have to contact us. So that's how we found out about this one. Organized and attended alumni reception for our athletic director in San Antonio and interfacing with the San Antonio alumni chapter just prior to the Incarnate Word football game down there, and that was well received. The men's breakfast with the Waller County Economic Development Partnership, and working more and more with the county executive director, Vince Yoakum, who's just doing an incredible job with that work in the south end of the county, primarily in Katy along 10, from Goya to Amazon. You know, they've just done some real good things, but they've got that land down there to do it. Also, for the benefit of council, just to share in terms of the work schedule, sometimes we get hit with legal work or discovery, and that's something I have to be involved in, so the time to put those things together and get that stuff out in a timely fashion is something else that's been taking place. And continuing to meet with a few different developers. The hope and goal is somewhere around 2,000 new student housing beds in the city of Prairie View in the next 12 to 18 months. And that's looking real good. These are private developers buying private land, and it's already zoned for the multifamily housing and stuff that they're looking to do there for apartments and what have you. So again, just some exciting stuff. Waiting, had another meeting with TxDOT at its Houston office, and there's some business owners that are looking to bring in a Checkers restaurant, gas station, and everything is locked up except for TxDOT final approval for their ingress and egress right at 290 and University Drive. Those type of things we're looking at because it will do wonders in increasing our property tax base, but we've got a lot of students who attend Prairie View in apartments and hotels from Brennan, west, east up to Cypress, and just trying to see what we can do to help facilitate that, get them here, because every time they fill up in Cypress or somewhere else, we lose that sales tax and all those dollars that they purchase food and things with, we're losing that revenue, and that does a lot for our police department. And how important is that? I want to give you an example. Chief, when you gave your report, I caught the fact that you had an officer at the front, and he tried to get out the back, and there was an officer back there. We haven't been having that double coverage at night. And now that we've got additional officers, that's just how important it is. You know, plus for the safety of our officers out there, to have somebody backing them up in case something goes wrong. You've got help there. You don't have to call for it. So the doubling of our police force was an initial goal, and I'm just excited that Chief Solomon is doing the things that he's doing. And again, the safety of our officers and residents is paramount. So all of these things, while they may sound separate, they're actually connected, because that's what business is. And my background is not politics, it's simply business. We need the revenue to get the police officers, to keep our folks safe, and these are some of the normal ways that municipalities bring in revenue. So with that, are there any questions on my report, council? If not, I'll go to item 5. Discuss and take action on resolution to donate the Crown Victoria to the Prairie View Fire Department. Chief Solomon, you proposed this, and Councilor, you and Ms. Dickey put that.
There's an exhibit that goes with that from the sheet.
This is estimated work.
This was on the last agenda, right? You just didn't have the.
Right.
Yeah, we didn't have this information, mileage and that sort of thing.
So, I can't make a motion.
Councilman Jones?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I move that we take action on the resolution to donate the Crown Victoria to the Prairie View Fire Department.
To make the donation. To donate.
Approve it, yeah, approve the action, or, you have to specify the action.
Mr. Mayor, I approve that.
Resolution.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
You approve the resolution.
I approve that we accept the resolution to donate the Crown Victoria to the Prairie View Fire Department.
Second.
Okay, it's been properly moved that we approve the action on the resolution to donate the Crown Victoria to the Prairie View Fire Department. You've heard the motion, ready for the question?
Questions?
All those in favor say aye.
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 Noes have the same right? Ayes have it. Discuss internships for students at PVNMU. Judge Alexander, I'll let you lead off because you've been doing this for so many years with the city.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna say since 2010, for sure. I know that we have brought in interns to the municipal court, and initially I worked with Dr. Bailey from the the College of Juvenile Justice and Psychology. I worked with Dr. Bailey, and then eventually I began working with Dr. Grady Paris. So some of the interns come in and they work and volunteer and work under our leadership for experience only, and some work for grades and experience. One of our most successful stories is one of the young ladies who actually came in last semester and gave a presentation to council. We had 3 of them. After a field trip, they came in to talk about their experience as interns. I'm happy to say that one of those young ladies, the one that graduated, she's now working for Linebarger. And she's very close. She gave me a call last week. She's very close to being assigned her own court for a tax resale. So she was very happy. So she called back to say how she benefited from working in the city of Prairie View. I spoke to, I want to say 3, it could have been 4, but I believe it was 3 young people who were not criminal justice majors, but they are going to come and start working in the municipal court. And they are primarily going to be going through some old cases and entering some information into a database so that we can start the collection efforts on those cases. Some of those cases are very old, but there's really no statute of limitations on citations if all of the documentation is in place. So we're going to start the collection on some very old cases way back from the 1990s. And so, and I do have a request in right now to Dr. Grady Paris for the new interns for this semester. I kind of got a later start because we had so much transition in the court with personnel. I just thought it wouldn't be doing them justice to bring them in and not really have that time to sit with them. What I do is I meet with the interns. I find out what they're studying, and I try to make sure that they do get some hands-on application in the court with what they're studying. If it means that I take them out to the county court or the district court in Waller County or even Harris County, I just try to make sure that they get some experience and some exposure and have the opportunity to work with some of the things that they are studying. So that's really it in a nutshell regarding interns in the municipal court.
Great, thank you, ma'am. And the part, a couple of them been internships, but or interns, but it's more informal because of the nature of what I deal with, and when people want to come in and talk to me about their different matters, it's been, you know, back and forth, but it's been a combination of that and helping more of the students get community service and coming up and assisting us with so many things. And it was really prevalent when we were short a couple of people and that sort of thing, so we've been able to slow that down a little bit. Item 7, Councilwoman Williams, I think you would.
I'm gonna make a motion to have it removed. I found the information that I needed.
Okay. Can we get a second on removing item 7? Okay, it's been properly moved and seconded that we remove item 7 per the maker of the, or requester of this item. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed have the same right? Okay. Number 8, discuss and take action on improvement of pavement on Owens Road. Councilwoman Williams.
Yes, I spoke with Mr. Yancey Duncan, and he first told me that the city of Prairie View has moved, I guess you can say their jurisdiction or the line for where the city starts and ends over numerous times. So now supposedly where the county starts is at Kilpatrick, and I think that's back towards Zippy's. Well, y'all know where Zippy's is. But anyway, that's back Owens Road going down towards 362. And that he said that that would be considered the city. And so I asked him, I said, well, does it also count that the front part of the street on Orange Road, all those homes in the city, but the ones in the back or in the county? And he said that's been a problem for quite some time. He also informed me that there is the interlocal agreement, but the county has decided to change that, and that we should have received or should be getting some form of a notice by mail of the new agreements that they're asking the cities to sign off on. I asked him what did this agreement entail, and he said that he did not want to tell me that over the phone. It was a document that we needed to have, the mayor needs to get, and that city council needs to get, so that we can read over it. And he's expecting all cities involved to sign off on it, because this new procedure and policy will go in effect on January the 1st of 2018.
So do we have the interlocal?
He said we do, but that's not gonna even be in effect come January. It's gonna be a whole different process. I asked him for right now, what did we, need to do? And, he told me he would get back with me, on tomorrow. But there's really, they could assist the city, with fixing the street, but it could be we pay some, they pay some.
So we've heard all sorts of things. On one hand, we need to do an interlocal like with Cameron Road. And with you, they're saying, we have one and it's gonna expire. And
Yeah,
he
he said
can't,
it was-
and he can't tell you from a county standpoint
Right. He
what
said
it
it's-
is.
He said it was for 4 years.
You on the council as well.
He said it was for 4 years, and, he said basically.
This is the new one is for 4 years?
No, the interlocal agreement that, I guess the city, whenever they did it, whatever, he said it was for 4 years, and that all of that is, going to change. And like I said, I asked him could he explain to me, because I was coming to council tonight, what the new procedure would be in January, and he said he preferred not to get into that over the phone, that it was a document that we needed, because we are expected to sign off on it.
Do we have the, do we have, council or?
He claims that the document should have been sent to us a long time ago, he said.
I saw something at the State of the County meeting, and a couple of people discussed where they're basically phasing out what they were doing, and then there's a graduated structure, and over 4 years it expires. I'll check with him and see.
Yeah, he said he's expecting, for Prairie View, Waller, Hempstead as well, and Brookshire to sign off on whatever this document is.
But,
Yes.
my question is, one, do we have a copy, or when can we get a copy? Two, since it's going in January, does the mayor, since you've seen it, do you plan to sign it, and before you sign it, do we need to vote on it? Third, have the mayors, if you've seen it, set up a meeting to how you need to go to the county to push back on this. And so, again, if it's going in January, it means that they moving on it, and so.
Well, me and a couple of mayors have spoke on doing just that, and I didn't see the entire thing, and it was mostly discussed, someone had it at that State of the County meeting, so I'll see if
And
we
he said it
can
was
get something
something
and get it to.
that was approved some
You
time
guys.
ago by Commissioners Court.
Anyone?
So do we officially, the city don't have a copy?
I don't recall having a copy. I'll check, and I'll check with them, and whatever I can get, you know, I'll
And he
shoot
said
it out, make sure the
if
council
we
sees it
didn't
as
have a
well.
copy, Mary, I guess you or Ms. Dickey could contact, his secretary, and she would make sure that we got a copy of it, because it was definitely gonna go into effect on, January the 1st.
Okay. See, what I don't have that I really need is, I don't have a copy of what he says is in effect right now, that's expiring December 31. Because I've been talking to him through email and our commissioner and I think just those two about everything from Owens Road to Phillips Road. You know, so we've been having these dialogues trying to get something done, and now they're saying it's expiring. Well, I have a problem with that.
Well, he said at one time, Owens Road from 1098 to where Jones is now was considered the city, and from there back was considered the county. And he said, but every time the city rezone, and every time they do something different, they have moved basically their own city line, is what he was telling me. He said, which is why now the city of the Orange Road is in the city all the way to Catherine Reed, and then anything past there is in the county. I told him I didn't understand that.
And you wouldn't put what he's telling you in writing.
Right, and I told him I didn't understand that, and then, he was like, well, we haven't looked at other ones, and I said, but when I called you 2 weeks ago, you told me you were going to look, and then when I talked to you, you told me you had went and looked. And so he was like, oh, that was my mistake, that wasn't the road that I went to see. He said, actually, we were out looking at streets today. And I said, well, all I'm asking is, can you or can you not fix the road? That's all I wanted to know. And he said he couldn't get into that on the phone.
Okay. Chief, you had something you wanted to show us?
Yeah, those were the same questions that I had for them when we were talking about putting the flashers up on Owens. It became from the state road to a county road into a city road. And so I talked to them about that, and they told me the same thing, that the city was pushing. And how do you do that without annexing, is a question I asked them. And no one could give me that answer.
Right, what she just said, he said is when we make ordinance changes, but ordinance changes don't change
Right.
the boundaries of the city.
Right.
So, I don't know, what are you saying?
Yeah, so remember, this doesn't have any bearing, but we have, when we change from general law to home rule, we extended our boundaries from where our line was, but that has nothing to do with services right now. That have to do with ETJ boundaries, and so the difference of what he's saying is the city boundaries are still the same. That hasn't changed, and so, you know.
It almost sounds like they're referencing the city change regarding Cameron Road and that bridge,
We're trying to shut it down too.
because that's the only real boundary change.
Well, his last statement to me was, each city at some point is gonna be responsible for fixing their own street.
But we as a city also have to push back on that, because again, the county gets a lot of money. As you know, they just passed a large bond that all our taxpayers are gonna pay. And so that's why I said if the mayor can get with the other mayor, the mayor can get with the other city mayors, that's a large voting delegation. Specifically, what is our commissioner saying in reference to this?
And I did ask him, how does Waller go about getting their streets done? Because all their streets are nice, and pretty much all the streets in Hempstead are pretty nice. And so I was just asking, how did they get it done?
What did he say about Pine Island, who ain't never paid, they don't even collect, property tax and they get their streets paid?
So,
They can't even tell folks about it.
Yeah, I've had, from the time I became mayor, I've been in touch with and asked our commissioner about redoing Owens Road after H.T. Jones was fixed. And initially, I was told that their plan was to redo Owens Road after the school was finished because of the heavy trucks coming in with construction, which made sense. By the time the school was finished, they're like, that's a city road, y'all fix it.
and he did say that
crazy.
most of the damage to Orange Road, he was sure happened because of the big trucks that were going up and down the street when they were building, Jones Elementary.
So it's a Waller ISD issue. Is that what you're saying? Okay. Anything else on that? So we'll see what we can get, in anyone who can, anything regarding this, because it's Owens Road and a couple other situations and them changing, but us not having the benefit of a written document on what they're changing from, and his refusal to get you a written document on what they're changing to is absolutely ridiculous. But
Well, I would like to see this document. He says that the city has to sign off on it, so.
okay, we'll see. Item 9, discussion, Mayor Allen's proposal to start the process for annexing 11.9 acres. And this is the 33.5 L7 Roy Perry acres at James Muse and US 290. And this is simply where Harris County initially felt that all 33.5 acres of Mr. Perry's property was in their ETJ or in Harris County. And come to find out, they recently realized only 11.9 of this land that they've been dealing with for a couple of years is in theirs, and then they released it. So now we're just getting the paperwork to set the meeting, bring the information to council, and do the, public hearing, councilors, on the annexation?
You'll have two public hearings.
Because it's voluntary, it'll be fairly smooth because Mr. Perry's interested in doing that. Yes?
With the voluntary annexation, that leads us to move to, well, we have to provide services. I know he plans on building something, but we currently right now don't have a, does that tie into the other grant, or is this something that we're at some point, we'll have to provide, Does this gives us closer to extending our ETJ in reference to services going the other way?
It does tie into, I'm not sure about the extending the ETJ part, but it does tie into the James Muse Parkway project because he's right on one of the corners of James Muse and will be going from Business 290 to all the way to Owens Road, bypassing him. So that should be done long before he's finished with what he's doing. Like I say, he's just getting the okay to build anything on it whatsoever. But yeah, it does tie into that. Item 10, discuss the development of a road repair and culvert maintenance and cleaning 5-year plan for the city of Prairie View. And show Councilman Randall.
All right, yeah, we discussed this at the last council meeting about putting a plan together as far as a schedule of road repairs, so we're not patchworking the roads, and you know, at some point every road would be repaired, you know, throughout a 5-year period, and then from that point, a maintenance plan as far as keeping the roads upkept as we go, so we don't have to keep doing, you know, little patchwork, and then major fixes, and as well as the culvert and ditch cleaning, because you know we spent a lot of money after the first flood to get the ditches clean and to get the culverts clean. And there were a lot of neighborhoods, just like with the roads, that didn't get any of their ditches clean or their culverts clean. And I always use, you know, Rosewood as an example because I feel like they always get left out of the equation, whether it's with the roads or with the ditches. But if we have a schedule that says, okay, this year these roads are going to be fixed no matter what, then that puts all of the roads in Prairie View under the map and make sure everyone's getting equal representation as far as how we allocate funds and how we allocate, you know, our resources. And so this was just to, you know, put it out there that, because it's not something that we probably can do until we start working on the next budget cycle, but the plan needs to be in place before we start the budget. So it's just to get the conversation started so we can start working on getting this done. And I reached out to Yancey, the county engineer, and he said the county doesn't currently have one of these. He said they're in the process of working on one, but they don't have one as of yet. And so I'm going to reach out to other municipalities and see what they use, and then I'll be bringing that back to council so we can have some kind of example to start molding ours by. And Yancey also said whenever the county completes theirs, he would provide it to me so we can have it as well.
Great, good information. Any other questions on that, Council?
No, I just wanted to make sure that we get it in a workshop for 2018, so. Because it goes back to with the question I think Councilman Williams asked, that was on the agenda last month, was that if we in the city of Prairie View know we have 50 roads, and we know we have enough, we have a special fund that can only be used specifically for roads, that we balance, that we say, okay, every year for the next 5 years, we're gonna improve 10 roads. And you now know, based upon the priority of the severity of how bad your roads are, you then know how long it'll be before you get a road to come out. Now, that don't mean we're gonna ignore it. We may do some patching and stuff like that, but we know that we get in a cycle, so when we have money, everybody kind of knows where we're going. And I think that helps both the city and also helps the citizens to know, when their roads are gonna come back.
It saves us money. It saves us money in the long run. Just one thing that we've done, for a long time as a city is our follow through isn't very good. So we with the ditches, we spend all the money digging the ditches, but we haven't went back and cleaned the ditches since then. So a schedule eliminates the follow through because it's something that's already established. So we don't have to come back to council every time we want to go clean the ditches. We already had that in place, and we know that hey, this month these ditches are going to be clean. These streets are going to be repaved, while these streets may get patched. And so it just eliminates a lot of for one, bureaucracy. So it's not the same streets getting paved every year, and then you know, it saves us cost in the long run.
One of the things I remember reading somewhere was, I'm not sure how many years ago, the city did a bond to get them, okay, to get them done.
2007.
2007?
Yeah, that bond, we spent $1 million, and that $1 million paved. At that time, there was some dirt roads still in the city, and we took that money and we paved every street in Prairie View. That $1 million on.
Except Phillips Road.
Pardon me?
Except Phillips
Well,
Road.
we might have missed Phillips Road.
You missed it.
Okay. Well, it was considered.
Yeah,
It was.
because the fees on that are exorbitant to really do a street like you're supposed to.
Yeah.
So I think we might want to, in trying to address this, take a look at doing, because I'll be honest with you, some of the streets don't look like they were done 10 years ago.
No, the ones that were done, the problem that we had is we couldn't do them as wide as we wanted to.
Okay.
To stretch it, to stretch the material. And so a decision was made to cover as many streets as we could, we cut down the width.
So how'd y'all prioritize?
The engineer did.
Which mean, yeah, which, like some streets, I don't know if y'all ride on it, the grass grew on some of the sides and they didn't go back and clear it. So you may have a whole side that's like this long that's didn't get paved because the grass was from how long it took the process, right? So you have the process when you get the estimate, then you got the cleanup process, and then you have the process when they come and do it, and it was a process. So, but it did stretch. But one of the things that I think JJ brought out, we spent the money in like 2008, 2009. One of the issues is that, again, it's 10, 12 years, and unless your street has a big old hole in it, we ain't came back and ain't been back, right? So those are the reasons why.
You're right, we did fix the holes. Like you said, that we were able to do in-house, so that helped a lot, but yeah, it's a major undertaking to see how we best want to address that. And while we're on, just thinking about possible ways of doing that, if we could do something like possibly a bond to do the streets and our water sewer infrastructure on our older pipes, that would be a bond worth doing, and it's only a city loan, so it doesn't raise taxes or anything like that. But I know that would go a long way with the city, because we, in a sense, need both of them, because we're still doing a lot of patching as we find a leak. But fortunately, we're able to patch it in-house, but at some point, some of those are okay. Number 11, discuss status on the last financial forensic audit for 2017. And I listed municipal court because all they've completed so far, Harvey affected everybody, including them, but they did finalize, and I'll look to send that so the council can peruse it. And it's not a forensic audit. That came out when they were here. It's a pretty detailed audit operationally and stuff, but a forensic audit would bust our whole budget, because they look at and then find receipts and invoices for everything. So the council did not approve a forensic audit, so I just wanted to bring that to your attention, and I think you'll be pleased. I was looking at it just a few days ago, and we'll send it to council so you can read everything that they say they found and recommendations. But they do it in steps, and because of their it took them a while to get to us even after approval, and then it also got sidetracked. But the one area that they totally completed, and the only area they've done, was municipal court. Councilman?
At our last meeting, where we approved to do the audit for 2017, there are some documents that council have not seen, and so we were asking for, I guess this was on the agenda because we wanted to get the first and second page of the summary that was sent to you.
On this one?
I don't know if it was it wasn't 2017 because we didn't do it yet. It was 2016. And so that has been, you have that, so I don't think, some of the questions we were asking when the audit came up, we were trying to get some feedback on some things that we knew or didn't know. And that's information is in a document that was provided to you for 2016.
Oh, you mean Mr. Erskine's report
Yes,
from,
right.
sure.
And so we want to get a copy of that.
No problem.
That audit, yeah. Do you know when we can?
You should be able to get it to you this week, I would think. Item 12, discuss and take action on selection of next most senior council member Williams as mayor pro tem. And that I'll share with you just so and the reason I wrote it out the entire way was so that the council knew what the historical practice had been. The council had been selecting, and this was the process council had used. But again, in selecting or not, that's still a council prerogative. My job is just to give you the information. Yes?
My concern is that council voted to put on the agenda that's in our minutes a specific way because we wanted to have a conversation on it. I'm not sure why a name was added. If you look at the minutes, it says move to add to the agenda, move to select a mayor pro tem. And it was voted all yes with the exception of Councilwoman Williams. This was for us to have this conversation. So this position should have come up in June. We've had a holdover mayor pro tem since June. And then but this process is a city council process. And so, and then when you talk about most senior council, Ms. Williams wouldn't be most senior council.
Actually, she is, because Ms. Williams, and this was again a part of it, because Councilman Randall was mayor pro tem before Councilwoman Barnett.
2 years ago.
And then Council Barnett. So she is next in line, considering you and Mr. Jones just came on 6 months ago.
It would have been Ms. Honey, but since Ms. Honey didn't really make it, it falls over.
Yeah.
So
That's all
council,
that
two things. What are you counting as most senior?
Most senior, continuous time on as a council person.
Right.
You and Mr. Jones got on, what, 6 months ago?
No, so two things. There's no continuous time. But again, council makes that decision, so thank you.
I'm just giving you the information, so council can do with it what you will. The item just needs to be disposed of, so that's council's done.
No, yeah, that's,
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Jones.
Since we've been doing it the way of most senior, continuous term, I would like to make a motion that we accept Councilmember Williams as mayor pro tem.
Second.
Okay, it's been properly moved and seconded that Councilwoman Williams be named mayor pro tem. You've heard the motion, ready for the questions?
Questions?
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed have the same right?
Opposed.
Ayes have it, motion passed. Item 13, discuss the MOU signed by the mayor and other improvements to city sewer. this. This is in line with council's request, and it came up again today, as it does pretty much every meeting, because of the situation we find ourselves for way too many years with our sewer situation. This is a gentleman with the engineering firm, and this is the data request, and for the benefit of the audience, I'll read it. He's requesting the number of electric or gas meters, we don't have those, number of water meters, consumption bill to all customers, residential and commercial, breakdown residential and commercial by size of meter, approved city rate sheets for electric, gas, water, and sewer, so we've got the water and sewer ones. 4 rates for purchased or wholesale water, since we don't do electric and gas, so it'll be water. Number of street lights and size wattage, number of city facilities and square foot of each with elevation map of each, street map of city, water distribution map, and gas distribution map, electric if applicable. Number of lift stations and size, horsepower, phase, NEMA code if available of pumps at each location. Does city own its electric substations or transformers? Copy of master plan for the city and copy of wastewater contract with the city. And there's a combination. One, first and foremost, met this gentleman at a conference several months ago, and we met 2 or 3 times. But this is someone who is gathering this information to see, and if they can, as they've done with other cities, by the way, and I'll bring that in. But they do and have built water sewer treatment plants, and that's the issue that we find ourselves getting behind the 8 ball on. So this is for, and the MOU was no obligation whatsoever to the city. This was just what they used to start the process and then get this information, put together whatever relevant report on what, if anything, they can do to help with our sewer treatment plant situation, and then we'll be bringing that back to council. But that's what that was.
Again, I would appreciate it if when we vote on something, it stays that way. This is another item that, again, I thank you for the information this time. Because again, whether it's done for free or if it's done for a cost, all MOUs signed needs to come before council.
And
so thank you for the information.
Now that's stated where, because this is not the first MOU I signed. I know you've just been back 6 months, but there've been a few. The $100,000 research grant with the university that we received, and that's starting to be implemented to see what we can do to incorporate hold on, let me finish. To go after the $1 million grant for making us a smart city. That was done before you came back in. So, an MOU that doesn't integrate, as a matter of fact, there was an MOU with the College of Engineering for a $500,000 grant that unfortunately we didn't get. But these things have been happening, so I didn't see where a MOU has to come back. Can you show me?
MOU or anything that binds the city. So you can go to a meeting, you can talk on behalf of the city, but you cannot enter into a legal agreement without council knowing. That's all. The only thing I'm saying. Nothing wrong with it, but we just need to know that you cannot enter into the legal binding anything without coming to the council.
Good, and there's nothing legally binding, so we're okay. Any other questions on this? Because I agree with you. You've heard me say whatever he does and comes up with will be coming back to council. So any contracts and agreements to do anything that encumbers the city financially, you're absolutely right. And this is not one of those.
It doesn't matter if it can be for free. Again, the courtesy would be, which is one of the reasons why I brought it up. Simple courtesy. If you go to a meeting, you go to anything, you have the right and ability to do that. But before you sign or enter into something, the courtesy would for council to have the information. That's all.
Well, on one hand, you complain, as you did today, about the water sewer activity and my being here 6 months, 15 months. Well, we won't talk about the 6 years where you did nothing regarding this. But you can't on one hand tell me that you want me to try to get it fixed, and on the other hand, you want to know everything about it. Well, as CEO of the city, you need to take a look at that, because that's the auspices under which I signed it, and in reading council's primarily policy situation, but there's no encumbrances to the city, because I totally agree with you.
I agree with you as well, but I will say that whether you're the CEO of the mayor, you still have to go to the board of directors or with i.e. city council. And so I don't have any problem. My issue is how do we come together and move it forward? But you sent me an email, and in your email you said you signed up an MOU. That's why it was on there, because you don't have that authority or ability. Thank you.
Well, obviously I do. It's done.
You brought it to us though.
Yeah, absolutely. I keep you informed. My job is to keep council informed, and that's why it's on my report, and that's why it was sent to you.
Attorney Kerr, can the mayor enter into MOU without the city council seeing it?
The ordinance says that no person shall have the right to expend any public funds for the city in carrying out any emergency management activities authorized by this article without prior approval by the city, nor shall any person have any right to bind the city by contract, agreement, or otherwise without prior or specific approval of the city council.
Thank you, sir.
Sounds good.
So
since that does not, hold on. You don't have the floor, Councilman, I do. That is not binding to the city, as I said, and the council's got information, so what I did falls right in line with that. You just want to read it and understand it, but it's there. And I haven't done such a thing, and I wouldn't do such a thing.
So, council, can you read B again, please?
B?
Yeah, the second part of what you said.
Let me just read the whole thing. No person shall have the right to expend any public funds of the city in carrying out any emergency management activities authorized with the article without prior approval by the city council, nor shall any person have any right to bind the city by contract, agreement, or otherwise without prior and specific approval of the city council.
Contract agreement, bind, which is what we're talking about.
No binding, nothing's binding. So we're good. I guess, Counselor, we're at the point where we can do the
executive session?
Oh, no. If you look on the next page of the agenda, because it was my understanding council had some questions about how to get information onto the agenda. If you read your city code of ordinances, section 1.514 agenda, this was adopted long before I got here. It has a process that the council members or anyone gets information onto the agenda. It's stated. I know we kind of re-litigate in a sense, but it would be good to take a look at the ordinances, because the ordinances are incorporated into the city charter. So if it's something that we want to do, a lot of it's already been done, but again, I just wanted to bring it to show. Yeah, and there's one thing too that I do want to bring to all of our attention, as well as yourself, Counselor. We want to try to get this information in at least a couple of days. That last Friday, that's not working. People are working overtime and that sort of stuff. So we need to get what we want on agenda. Or if it's not urgent, it'll carry over, and that's perfectly okay. But we don't want the folks in the office stressing. We try to get that stuff up. Now, I know we're only required to get it to the council, as I understand the city ordinance, 24 hours before the meeting. But I like keeping with the practice, which is just that, of getting it to them the 72 hours, which is the posting requirement. It's not getting to the council requirement. But we do want to keep with that. But again, we just kind of want to have that Thursday cutoff, if you will, so that we can, comfortably and not make mistakes and not leave stuff out. Because when we're rushing, that's what happens. And I know, and I'll accept my credit for it. If something didn't go on or something was screwed up, I'm a big boy. I've been doing this for over 40 years. I have no problem accepting that.
Typically, and the way it works since I've been on council, if the item wasn't in by Thursday, it didn't get put on the agenda.
Okay, so we'll go back to, yeah.
I mean, that's
Help us.
just in fairness to those putting the agenda together. I mean, if we expect to have 72 hours, you should have your item and all necessary documentation in by that Thursday, so we can put it into the packet.
Okay, thanks.
With the 24 hours, I think, I've seen, we usually, 72 hours is because we have the posting. If we post something on the agenda, the required things, if we have a meeting on Monday, obviously the business day, which is the 24 hours, which would be Friday.
No, it says 24 hours, just like it says 72 hours. It doesn't
It
take into
says,
account.
it says business days prior to each council meeting, whereupon the city secretary shall immediately arrange a list of such matters according to the order of business and function. Each member of council and the mayor and the city attorney with a copy of the same at least 24 hours, business day prior.
No, it says 24 hours. It doesn't say business days on the second one. It says at least 24 hours prior to the council meeting. And as far in advance of the meeting as time for preparation. And keep in mind, I said our goal is to stick with the historical, trying to get it out on Friday. So this hasn't been an issue, but by cutting it off on Thursday, it just helps ensure that we do get it to you for Friday, that's all. And like Councilman Randall said, we just don't want the folks in the office stressing behind, rushing, and because other things are taking place at the same time. So we're good, we're saying the same thing. We're ready for executive session to
Yes, we can
address
move into
those.
executive session.
The City of Prairie View City Council reserves the right to adjourn into executive session at any time during the course of this meeting to discuss, as authorized by Texas Government Code Sections 551.071, consultation with attorney, 551.072, deliberation about real property, and I think that's all we need since we didn't post that. It's 9:29 and the Prairie View City Council is out from executive session and back into session. And
Item E.
are we, actually,
Did we see if someone's out, is the lady outside?
no, we'll do that in there, just Randall walk out. So council is, no action from executive session?
Correct. And then we're on item E.
Mayor Allen, I would like to make a motion that we table items E, F, and H, no, E, F, G, and H.
Second.
Okay, it's been properly moved and second that we table items 2, E, F, G, and H. You've heard the motion, ready for the questions?
Or do I need to be a little bit more?
To get to get the packet information.
Okay,
To make that
okay.
motion.
Maryland, I make a motion that we table items E, F, G, and H until we have received the packets for each application, each applicant.
Okay, so I'll second. Okay, it's been properly moved and seconded that we table items 2, E, F, G, and H until we receive the packets of information. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed have the same right. Ayes have it. Any other business this evening? Yes.
We have a January 14th or 18th, we won't have an initial meeting for the month of December. We have a deadline that's coming up in reference to voting. And I want to inquire about the training, who is going to be our person, because they're gonna have to learn to be able to do the system, but also go to the training. So have we identified that? And if not, then are we gonna go back to the county and have to pay for them to administer it? So what is our plan of action?
Either Ms. Dickey or the county is what we're looking at. I've talked with a couple of the local regular people, but the overseer, which is what you're referencing, it'll either be one of those two. If we can get her to the training and get her up to speed with these experienced folks, then we'll go that route. If not, we'll have to bring someone in, and we hope to have that information to the council for the next meeting.
And there's a posting due on the 18th, and I just sent that to Ms. Dickey tonight, so she will get that right up and going.
Okay, great.
The
Any
only
other
thing is due
business?
in December.
Okay. Adjourned. Thank you, folks.
P and Z.
I'll have that.